Chapter 66. Byakugan. Hinata activated the Byakugan and gestured to Naruto and Sasuke with his right hand behind his back and whispered, "Go and ambush them. When they arrive, give them a good beating." Naruto said confidently, "Okay. Hinata, don't worry." Hinata said without turning his head, "Naruto, you don't have any ninjutsu. When Sasuke and I finish our big moves, you can use a large number of shadow clones to beat them." In the field of vision of the Byakugan, my love trio was jumping on the trees and rushing towards the central tower at a very fast speed. Hinata, Naruto, and Sasuke were hiding. Hinata clenched his fists tightly, waiting for my love trio to arrive. Then he would directly use his king bomb on them. However, thinking that my love will be the 5th Kazekage of the sand-hidden village in the future, after all, she saved Shaoli when she was chasing Sasuke, and in the future, she will protect Naruto with her life, so there is no need to kill them now. Well, then let's use an empty palm. Hinata had already arranged the ambush, and my love trio was approaching the central tower. My love was in the front, and she didn't say a word along the way, while Hanbao and Kankuro were trembling behind her. Since they stopped my love from killing Shino, Kiba, and Sakura, my love's mood has been very violent, and her whole body was exuding a murderous aura. Seeing the central tower appear in their field of vision, Hanbao and Kankuro were relieved at the same time. Finally, they didn't have to stay with the monster my love. Whoosh, whoosh. 2 imperceptible sounds of breaking the air sounded. Gaara and the other 2 stopped and looked up. The glaring sunset made the 2 figures in the air look a little dim, but they could vaguely tell that the girl was the one who had beaten Kankuro 7 days ago and hospitalized him. Fire release, Great Fire Dragon Technique. 20 Gods Air Attack. As soon as my love trio entered the ambush, Hinata sent a signal to signal the start of the attack. Sasuke used the strongest fire release he could currently master, and Hinata still started with an empty palm attack. The 2 of them surrounded Gaara and the others from both sides, one on the left and one on the right. A lot of sand poured out of the gourd behind my love. Before the attack, my love's body. The moment before the attack. My love's. With my love's heart, he wouldn't care if Han's ants or died source. As the crisis approached, Hanbao instantly opened the 3 stars fan in front of her and shouted, "Ninjutsu, Sickle Weasel." The battle between the wind and the flames. Hanbao hurriedly responded and couldn't use a big move for a while. With the Sickle Weasel against the Great Fire Dragon technique, Hanbao undoubtedly fell into a disadvantage. The scorching heat wave rushed over, and Hanbao jumped up to avoid it. Before she jumped into the air, she felt a huge force hit her chest. Pure chakra passed through the acupoints and meridians, constantly destroying the internal organs of Hanbao. This is Gentle Fist? Hanbao has seen this move before. Last time, Kankuro was seriously injured by Hinata with this move. Poof! Hanbao vomited blood and flew backward. At this moment, there was only one thought in her mind. What kind of sin did this old lady commit? Do I look easy to bully? Why do both fire release and empty palm attack me? Boom. Hanbao's whole body hit the tree heavily. She only felt a severe pain in her chest. She couldn't stop vomiting blood in her mouth, and her brain was dizzy. Before losing consciousness, Hanbao saw that Kankuro seemed to have been hit by someone, and his situation was even worse than hers. His whole body flew in the air and kept vomiting blood. Before he hit the tree, he had already lost consciousness. Before losing consciousness, Hanbao felt a little comforted in her heart. Fortunately, there is someone worse than me. Fortunately, I am not the only one who was hit. And what am I happy about? 10 empty palms in one move to understand. Who? Hinata jumped onto the tree and looked down at the situation below. Hanbao and Kankuro had already been killed, and my love was heavily protected by the sand. She looked at Hinata coldly. A perfect sneak attack. Hinata thought to himself. Fortunately, my love doesn't have a sense of teamwork and doesn't pay attention to her companions. If she protected Hanbao and Kankuro together, today would be a tough battle. While Hinata was thinking, he suddenly felt the sky darken. A lot of Naruto fell from the sky and poured down on my love like garbage. This idiot. Boom. 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 As expected, my love didn't move at all. She didn't even look at Naruto. A lot of sand turned into small sand balls and hit Naruto like a storm. A lot of Naruto's shadow clones turned into smoke in an instant. This is my chance. Hinata's eyes lit up. My love attacked Naruto, and the sand around him would decrease. Hinata didn't even think about it. He jumped down from the tree and rushed toward my love. My love's eyes followed Hinata's movements. The sand waves surged toward Hinata like a sea. Hinata's figure flipped, and his lithe body was like a butterfly fluttering in the sand waves. He didn't seem to be fast, but he was always able to dodge my love's sand waves. The distance between the two was shrinking. Sasuke stood on a tree branch and stared at the battle between Hinata and my love. His hands clenched into fists, and his heart was filled with unwillingness. He couldn't interfere in this battle. The speed of the sand waves was even faster than Sasuke's. If Sasuke went down to fight now, he would only be a hindrance to Hinata. Sasuke couldn't accept this at all. In a battle between peers, he didn't even have the qualifications to participate. Gritting his teeth, Sasuke's expression was ugly. Looking at Hinata, who was fighting below, facing my love's storm-like attacks, Hinata's face still looked relaxed, as if he wasn't using his full strength at all. What Sasuke didn't know was that some people looked relaxed on the surface, but in fact, they were even more relaxed in secret. When he was about 2 meters away from my love, Hinata's feet moved, and his speed increased further. His whole body was almost invisible to the naked eye. In an instant, he avoided all the sand waves and appeared in front of my love. In front of my love's expression of disbelief, Hinata clenched his right hand into a fist, condensing a blue chakra fist, and fiercely hit my love's chest. Hinata didn't know if my love had the sand armor on her body. If she did, the power of the gentle fist alone wouldn't be able to hurt my love. Not only did the 20 Gods airstrike have the effect of gentle fist to attack the internal organs, but it also had the effect of steel fist to cause physical damage. Its destructive power was extremely strong. Bang! My love's body flew backwards at an extremely fast speed, drawing a shadow in the air. Almost instantly, she crashed into a tree behind her, and the tree trunk exploded. Naruto! Hinata shouted. Since my love had already escaped the protection of the sand, at this time, using a large number of shadow clones to cause close combat damage was the most cost-effective way to deal with her. Naruto had been waiting for a long time. Another large group of shadow clones descended from the sky, pouring down in torrents towards my love. Revolving heaven! Hinata's movements were much faster than my love's sand. Blocking between my love and the sand, Hinata's whole body spun quickly, using revolving heaven to deflect all the sand away, creating an opportunity for Naruto to engage in close combat. Chapter 67. Bang, 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 clang, clang. Hinata's revolving sky bounced the sand that came back to support my love. As soon as he stopped spinning, he saw hundreds of Naruto surrounding my love. The scene was simply too horrible to look at. Some people say that unity is strength. For example, $1 may not be able to buy anything, but if there are 100 million pieces of $1, then you can buy a lot of things. One Naruto may be very weak, but if there are hundreds of Naruto, well, they are also very weak. After my love's sand was bounced away by Hinata, it immediately changed direction, and once again returned to support my love. Bang bang bang. Naruto's shadow clones were like firecrackers, exploding one after another. However, my love was really beaten badly. If Hinata was the one who broke the sand armor, he would need to punch it again and again. But if it was Naruto, then a lot of Naruto rushed up and broke my love's sand armor. Taking advantage of the fact that my love's sand armor has not recovered, Hinata rushed up again, and arrived in front of my love at the same time as the sand. Revolving sky. In close range, revolving sky can also be used as an offensive ninjutsu. The sand was once again scattered by revolving sky, and my love was also bounced away by revolving sky. Hinata quickly rushed to my love and grabbed my love's clothes to stop my love from flying back. 8 trigrams. 64 palms. Bang bang bang. 8 trigrams 64 palms actually has 2 attack modes. One is to seal the opponent's chakra, and it is suitable for ordinary practice. The other is to directly hit 64 palms with gentle fist. As long as the opponent is not a monster, generally, people who are hit by 64 palms will die. From this point of view, whether it was Hinata or Naruto, Neji in the original story was actually merciful. Of course, if you are skilled enough in 8 trigrams 64 palms, you can also switch between Gentle Fist and acupuncture. Hinata first hit my love a few times with Gentle Fist. Through Byakugan, he saw that my love's internal organs were seriously damaged. Hinata immediately switched from Gentle Fist to acupuncture and blocked my love's meridians so that he could not continue to create chakra. After a set of 8 trigrams 64 palms, Gaara completely lost consciousness and fell to the ground with a bang. The surging waves of sand also lost their power in an instant, turning into quicksand and scattering on the ground. Phew, Hinata turned to Naruto and Sasuke and made a V gesture, and said with a smile, "Finished." For a ninja like my love who uses magnetic release, unless he controls the sand sea to attack, as long as his speed is faster than the speed of the opponent's sand, and his attack power is strong enough, it is easy to defeat my love. After all, my love is disabled. Of course, Naruto's assist is also very powerful. If Naruto's shadow clone did not push my love's sand armor away, Hinata would not be able to defeat my love so easily. Naruto jumped down from the tree and found 2 scrolls from my love, and the other 2. He said proudly, "Haha, we have collected all the scrolls. If we go to the central tower now, then our team will be the first team to pass the exam." "Hinata, you are really amazing." Hinata was also very proud. He waved his hand and said casually, "It's just a little bit of water. This is my love." He still remembered the first time my love appeared. She was holding her arms and didn't move, and casually killed her opponent. It was so cool. But looking at my love in front of him with a bloody nose and a swollen face, it was completely different from the word cool. Of course, the bloody nose and the swollen face were beaten by Naruto, and it had nothing to do with Hinata. Sasuke jumped down from the tree without saying a word. Naruto scratched his head and said with some difficulty, "What about these 3 people?" Hinata took out a bundle of steel wires from Sasuke's ninja bag and threw it to Naruto, and said indifferently, "Find a tree and tie it up." Sasuke looked at Hinata and asked in a deep voice, "Do you want to continue the ambush?" Sasuke was a little eager to try. Instead of resting and wasting time in the central tower, it was better to find people to fight in the forest of death. Hinata said happily, "Sasuke, it seems that you have finally thought it through. Didn't we originally decide to ambush the opponents to make money?" Sasuke, "Haha, I just want to find people to fight, not to block the road and collect tolls." "Someone is coming, it's Kiba, Shino, and Sakura." Hinata, Naruto, and Sasuke were standing on a tree. Hinata said to the 2 in a low voice, "This group will be your practice. I will stop Sakura, Kiba, and Shino will be left to you." Sasuke snorted and said with a fighting spirit, "That's exactly what I want." Naruto was also rubbing his hands. When he was in school, he wanted to beat Kiba, but he couldn't beat him. Several months after graduation, Naruto felt that his strength had improved a lot, and at this moment, he was full of confidence. On the other side, Kiba and Shino were also investigative ninjas, and before they approached the tower, Akamaru whispered, "Woof." Kiba's face was a little ugly, and said in a dignified tone, "Akamaru, you mean the 3 people from Sand Hideout are also here? And you also smell a familiar scent?" Sakura said weakly. Akamaru obviously only barked once. "How can you understand so many meanings?" "And the 3 people from Sand Hideout." Speaking of this, Sakura was also a little scared, and said with a trembling voice, "Let's go first." Shino stretched out a finger and let a small insect fall on it, and said lightly, "It's Hinata and Sasuke." "Sasuke." Sakura screamed loudly and wailed. "Sasuke shouldn't be fighting with the people from Sand Hideout, right? Let's go and save them quickly." Kiba curled his lips and said disdainfully, "Naruto, that idiot should still be alive." Shino still said with an indifferent tone, "We must rush over as soon as possible. And if you want to ask why, after all, we are companions from the same village." Akamaru, "Woof." As soon as the words fell, Sakura and the other 2 quickly ran forward, and before they ran 100 meters, Kiba suddenly shouted, "Stop!" The three of them landed on the tree at the same time, and Sakura hurriedly asked, "Kiba, what happened?" Kiba pointed to the tree and said in horror, "Look." Sakura and Shino looked at the tree at the same time, and saw that my love Hanbao and Kankuro, who had just met a few hours ago and easily killed the Rain team, were now tied with wires and hung on the tree trunk. Hanbao and Kankuro vomited blood all over their bodies, and my love's face was bruised and swollen. "Who did it? This was too cruel," Sakura exclaimed. "It shouldn't be Sasuke, right?" Shino analyzed. "If it was Sasuke, they should have collected 2 kinds of scrolls by now." Kiba's face was ugly and he said, "So, the reason why they are still here is..." "Yes." Hinata shouted and came down from the sky with Naruto and Sasuke, and shouted aggressively, "This mountain was opened by me, and this tree was planted by me. If you want to pass this road, pay the toll." Everyone. Chapter 68. Yu was an arrogant, conceited, and at the same time, rebellious child. Although in the ninja school, Hinata was always the leader of the class, and Sasuke was also the second in the class. But in any case, wasn't there Naruto, the last in the class? Naruto shouldn't be able to beat Sakura. And it has been several months since graduation, and Yu has learned a lot of secret techniques. He doesn't believe that he will lose to Hinata and Sasuke. You want us to hand over the scroll? That depends on whether you have the strength or not. Shino pushed his glasses and said lightly, "We can't hand over the scroll. If you want to ask why, it's because we also want to pass this exam." Hinata waved his hand and hurriedly explained, "Yes, Shino. You misunderstood. I don't want to snatch your scroll. As long as you promise to treat us to a month's worth of meals after the exam, we will let you pass." Sakura, Yu, and Shino. The originally solemn atmosphere became extremely awkward in an instant. Yu roared, "You are dreaming. Hinata, you can eat more than Choji. Do you think I am stupid? Treating you to a month's worth of meals is not enough for me to do missions for several months." "Hehe, you are not stupid." Hinata was expressionless and said lightly, "Naruto, Sasuke, kill them." After saying that, Hinata took the lead and rushed to Yu and Shino. Yu and Shino quickly retreated, and Sakura couldn't react in time, and was caught by Hinata. Hinata jumped to the tree with Sakura in his arms and pressed Sakura to sit on the branch and said with a smile, "Sakura, let the boys do the fighting. Let's just sit here and watch the show." Sakura said awkwardly, "Hinata, it's not good for us to do this." Ignoring Sakura, Hinata waved to the 4 people under the tree and said with a smile, "Come on. You guys have a good fight." After saying that, Hinata took out 2 fruits from the ninja bag and handed one to Sakura and said with a sweet smile, "Eating while watching a fight is the most appetizing." Although Naruto and Sasuke wanted to beat Hinata up before the fight, Naruto and Sasuke compared the strength of both sides and felt that it might be easier to beat Shino and Yu. Although Shino and Shino were from a family of secret family, in the ninja school no one would teach you these things. Naruto was an orphan. When the Uchiha clan was destroyed, Sasuke was still young. Although everyone was in the same class in the Ninja Academy, Naruto and Sasuke didn't have any information about Shino and Kiba. The only thing they knew was their physical strength. But when the 2 sides, a lot of them, Uchiha clan's families is the family. Of course, the Aburame family was prepared for fire, but Shino hasn't reached that level yet. Although Naruto's shadow clone is weak, in terms of consumption, Shino is not Naruto's opponent at all. The 4 of them each found an opponent and fought one-on-one. Hinata watched with great interest, clapping his hands from time to time and shouting, "Good! Good fight. Sasuke, your backflip was so beautiful." Yes, hit his face. Naruto attacked the vital point under Fang. Hearing Hinata shout, Shino instantly felt a chill in his body, and his continuous physical movements stopped. At this moment, Naruto seized the opportunity to attack Shino, and a large number of shadow clones swarmed up and beat Shino and Akamaru. After killing Shino, Naruto immediately rushed toward Shino. "Naruto, don't come over!" Sasuke shouted. "This is my fight!" Naruto suddenly stopped. Sasuke and Shino haven't decided the winner. Although fire can restrain parasites, Sasuke is not Naruto, He doesn't have so much chakra to use. Sasuke's energy is called chakra, and Naruto's energy is called chakra. The two of them are not at the same level at all. As for Hinata, Hinata's energy is called chakra. Sasuke and Shino's fight is undoubtedly much more exciting. Both of them are smart people. Their tactics may not be as unexpected as Naruto's, but occasionally they can make people's eyes shine. Chakra is not enough, so they can only rely on tactics to make up for it. Sasuke used fire several times in a row. His stamina and chakra are seriously exhausted. Shino also lost some parasites. His physical skills are not as good as Sasuke's. Sasuke took the opportunity to kick him several times. In the end, the two of them died together. Shino was seriously injured by Sasuke, and Sasuke's chakra and stamina were swallowed by parasites. Now he can't even move a finger. TSK. What a pity. Hinata jumped down from the tree. Ah! Shino screamed loudly. Hinata looked down and saw that he stepped on Shino's finger. Hinata said apologetically, "Shino, I'm sorry, I didn't see it." While talking, Hinata saw the paint on Shino's face. He said with surprise, "Shino, do you like to draw on your face? Let me help you." Shino shouted in horror, "Wait! Hinata! What are you going to do? Don't!" "Hinata! I know I'm wrong." Hinata took out a pen from his ninja bag, pressed one hand on Shino's face, and drew his masterpiece on Shino's face. Hinata nodded with satisfaction. This is much better. Sakura, let's go and help them up." After calling Sakura, Hinata stepped over and wanted to help Sasuke up. "Ah!" Shino screamed again. Hinata blushed and said, "I'm sorry, Shino, I didn't see it. My Byakugan might be blind." Of course, Hinata couldn't go over to help Sasuke himself, so he motioned to Naruto, and Naruto obediently walked over to help Sasuke and Shino. Hinata squatted down and looked at Shino and asked with a blank expression, "So what do you think? Do you want to hand over the scroll? Or do you want to treat our team for 3 months? Shino wailed, "Hinata, didn't we just say that we will only treat them for 1 month? Hinata snorted, "Now the price has increased." Taking out a kunai, Hinata said to himself, "In fact, sometimes a painting carved with a knife may be preserved for a lifetime." Shino instantly surrendered and curled his lips. 3 months it is, Hinata. Don't mess around." Hinata nodded, patted Shino's shoulder, and said with a smile, "If you knew it would come to this, you wouldn't have done it in the first place." Shino said, "If I knew, I would have." Looking at Hinata's sweet smile, Shino swallowed the latter half of the sentence. Hinata waved his hand and said casually, "Shino, Sakura, you can still move, right? Help Shino to the tower. We have to continue to ambush the other teams." Shino asked, "You are already like this, can you still fight?" Hinata raised his chin and said with his hands behind his back, "Don't you still have me?" On the side, Sasuke and Shino have already woken up, and hearing the conversation between Shino and Hinata, Sasuke's face was full of unwillingness. Why can't I even beat Shino? I graduated from the Ninja Academy in 2nd place. What have I been doing all these years? Shino is the invincible legend of the ninja world. There are only a few people in the world who can tie with him. Be content. Chapter 69. While Hinata was buying tolls near the central tower, Apothecary's Pocket and Orochimaru also met in the Forest of Death. Apothecary's Pocket said with a slightly playful expression, "Orochimaru-sama, it seems that your plan has failed." After all, Apothecary's Pocket has the strength of an elite jonin, and has been lurking in Shinobu for many years. He also colluded with Sasori of the Red Sand. At this time, he can't be regarded as Orochimaru's confidant, so his words weren't particularly polite. In the manga, Orochimaru specifically warned Apothecary's Pocket about this. Orochimaru thought that Apothecary's Pocket was talking about Sasuke, and he didn't want to lose face in front of his subordinates, so he stuck out his tongue and licked his face. There's still a month before the Chunin exam, and there are still many opportunities to get Sasuke. Apothecary's Pocket was surprised. He didn't expect that even his mission to seduce Sasuke would fail. Apothecary's Pocket smiled faintly. "Orochimaru-sama, this subordinate isn't talking about this matter. Hinata, Naruto, and Sasuke are blocking the central tower. My love has been defeated, and if no one in Sand Hideout Village passes the second exam, your plan may end here. Orochimaru's face changed. Who is destroying my plan? This is the second time. Obviously, the person who destroyed Orochimaru's plan was our Otsutsuki Hinata. If no one in Sand Hideout Village passes the second exam, then the fourth Kazekage won't come to Shinobu Village for the third exam, because he won't have the face to come. If the fourth Kazekage doesn't come, Orochimaru won't be able to ambush him. And if he can't ambush him, Orochimaru won't be able to get close to the 3 generations Naruto. Shinobu's plan to collapse was aborted. This was a chain reaction. Orochimaru knew that my love is very strong, but he didn't expect my love to fail in the second exam. Orochimaru faintly asked, I haven't been back to Shinobu for a long time. Although I heard that the Hyuga clan girl is very strong, I didn't expect her to be able to defeat my love. Sarutobi chuckled. Even this subordinate Iasen isn't sure. I heard Sarutobi Tsukimaru. Orochimaru was surprised. Oh, is the news reliable? The news that Tsukimaru was defeated by Hinata's team 7 wasn't a secret in Shinobu. Although it was rumored that Hinata defeated Tsukimaru, most people may think that the credit for defeating Tsukimaru should be Kakashi. At most, Hinata completed the final blow and snatched Kakashi's head. Apothecary's pocket nodded. The Umbu department has confirmed the news. It was indeed Hinata who defeated Tsukimaru. Orochimaru was a little depressed. If Hinata had been blocked in the central tower, the people of Sand Hideout Village would never have passed the second exam. After all, even my love was defeated. Even if Orochimaru could save my love and give him the 2 scrolls, if he couldn't get past Hinata, my love wouldn't have passed the exam. Unless Orochimaru or Apothecary's pocket personally intervened. Ha 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 ha. Orochimaru chuckled. If that's the case, then I'll personally go and meet this little girl from the Hyuga family. At the same time, I'll also leave an unforgettable memory for Sasuke. Apothecary's pocket probed. Orochimaru-sama, if you want to choose your next vessel, this subordinate feels that Hinata is actually more suitable for you than Sasuke. Orochimaru looked coldly at Apothecary's pocket. His killing intent was faintly discernible. Kabuto, you may have your own ideas, but you'd better not have any ideas about Sasuke. Apothecary's pocket quickly lowered his head and admitted defeat. This subordinate wouldn't dare. Apothecary's pocket had been a spy for many years, so he had a thorough understanding of personality and human nature. Orochimaru's defeat to Itachi Uchiha may indeed be an unforgettable shame. But with Orochimaru's personality, if he really wanted to get back at Itachi Uchiha, he would never use the power of the Sharingan. Apothecary's pocket was quite confident about this. Orochimaru was a proud person. If he lost to the Sharingan, he would never use the power of the Sharingan to defeat his opponent. Therefore, Apothecary's pocket guessed that there may be more secrets to the Sharingan. For example, the power Itachi Uchiha used to defeat Orochimaru. Orochimaru's dream was to learn all the ninjutsu in the world, and for this he wanted to live forever. While studying various forbidden ninjutsu, Orochimaru was also looking for the truth of the shinobi world. For example, the legend of the Sage of the Six Paths. In the legend of the Sage of the Six Paths, the name Senju and Uchiha originated from the Sage of the Six Paths. In fact, during the time when he joined the Akatsuki, Orochimaru had already seen the legendary Rinnegan that belonged to the Sage of the Six Paths, Kabuto. You just need to do your own thing. With that said, Orochimaru slowly walked into the shadows of the forest and gradually disappeared into the darkness. Apothecary's pocket's eyes flashed. His strength was not enough to give him freedom, and he didn't have as many research resources as Orochimaru. If he wanted to know everything, the only way was to be completely loyal to Orochimaru. But I also have to find a chance to test Sasuke. Boom. They defeated another team of ninjas, but unfortunately, they only found a scroll. It seems that their idea was the same as Hinata's team. They wanted to block other teams near the tower. It has been a day and a night since they entered the Forest of Death. Hinata, Naruto, and Sasuke defeated more than a dozen teams in a row. Niji's team arrived at the tower shortly after Kiba's team. When he heard Hinata's request to treat him for a month, Niji agreed without thinking. Next, Shinobu's team was only left with Ino Shikicho. They stopped another team of ninjas. Seeing that they were wearing Shinobu's forehead protectors, Hinata asked, "How many scrolls did you snatch?" The other 3 ninjas were vigilant and didn't say a word. Hinata took out more than a dozen scrolls and showed them off. "I'm not going to snatch them from you. My name is Hinata. You should have heard of my name. If you promise to treat our team for a month, I'll give you the scrolls you need." One of them asked, "Are you serious?" Hinata curled his lips and said, "Do I need to lie to you?" With that said, Hinata took out a pen and paper and said with a serious expression, "As long as you leave a written agreement and put your thumbprint and signature on it, it will be fine." Thus, another team of Shinobu ninjas passed the second exam. Hinata also harvested a month's worth of food. Hinata was slightly proud. After the exam, I, Otsutsuki Hinata, will be labeled as broad-minded and helpful. Which one of these team leaders won't give me, Hinata, some face? This is called networking. Naruto suddenly shouted, "Hinata, Sasuke, someone is coming." Hinata turned his head and looked. It turned out to be a Kusanagi, Byakugan. Hinata frowned slightly. He was the only one nearby, and this Kusanagi, it's Orochimaru. Hinata couldn't laugh anymore. Why did Orochimaru come back? Orochimaru stuck out his tongue and licked his face. He said with a playful tone, "It seems that you have collected a lot of scrolls. I just happen to be missing one. In that case, let's bet on the scrolls and have a life and death battle." Hinata followed Orochimaru's example and stuck out her tongue to lick around. Her short tongue was only enough to lick her lips. Hinata asked curiously, "How did you do it?" Hinata licked his lips again. "Your tongue is so long." Orochimaru. Chapter 70. Orochimaru's face stiffened. Ignoring Hinata, he stuck out his tongue to roll up the scroll and stuffed it into his mouth. Orochimaru licked his lips and said with an evil look in his eyes, "Let's begin. I will go all out in this battle for the scroll." Hinata's eyes twitched. One of the legendary Sannin came to bully a primary school student. Was there any justice in this? "Wait!" Hinata shouted and pointed at Orochimaru. He said aggressively, "Since it's a battle for the scroll, do you think we should have a civil battle or a martial battle?" Orochimaru asked with interest. "Oh? How about a civil battle? What about a martial battle?" Hinata explained. "This is a martial battle. Let's fight randomly, and whoever is still standing in the end will be the winner. As for this civil battle, we will use a ninjutsu and you will think of a way to break it. Then you will use another ninjutsu, and we will break it. If we can't break it, then we will lose." Orochimaru thought. Although there is no such thing as a civil battle, with my strength, if I go all out, they won't be able to hold on for long. Also, this little girl from the Hyuga family, maybe she has some secrets. Orochimaru was addicted to ninjutsu. When he heard Hinata's civil battle method, he was interested. He said with a playful tone, "Then let's do it according to your civil battle rules." "Okay." Hinata pushed Naruto forward and shouted, "Naruto, you go first." "Watch me." Naruto was also full of momentum. He made a hand seal and shouted, "Multiple Shadow Clone Jutsu." Orochimaru found it funny. Shadow Clone Jutsu was only used to deal with ordinary genin. But he was one of the Sannin, Orochimaru. Sure enough, they were 3 naive children. Boom. In the forest, Naruto's shadow doppelganger created a large amount of smoke that spread out in all directions. Through the smoke, one could vaguely see hundreds and thousands of Narutos standing or hanging upside down on the branches. Hundreds of Narutos were speaking one after another. It was so messy that no one could hear what he was saying. Orochimaru thought, "Interesting, this kid has a lot of chakra." Orochimaru wanted to say something, but he saw hundreds of Naruto split into groups of 3, and quickly fled in all directions. Hinata and Sasuke transformed into Naruto's appearance. Together with Naruto's real body, they blended into the countless Naruto, and rushed towards the central tower. Hinata's position was very close to the tower. After running a few steps, the tower appeared in their sight. Looking back at Orochimaru's direction, Hinata sneered. You're one of the Sannin? You're a famous Sannin. Aren't you still played by me? Sure enough, he was the naive Uncle Snake. Orochimaru. Orochimaru never thought that Hinata would run away. Hinata has the strength of a Jonin. In this forest of death, he is definitely at the top of the food chain. He didn't think that Hinata would be so shameless. If she wanted to run, then so be it. Orochimaru's snake-like eyes swept around a few times. Even the Byakugan couldn't see through the flaws of the shadow clone jutsu, but the transformation jutsu is different. However, this place is dense, and there are strange ancient trees everywhere. Orochimaru didn't have the Byakugan, so naturally, he couldn't find the location of Hinata's group. Interesting. I was actually played by a little brat. Did he discover my identity? Or did he sense a dangerous aura? What a vigilant little brat. After more than 40 seconds, Hinata, Naruto, and Sasuke arrived at the entrance of the tower. Hinata wiped the sweat on his forehead. He felt that his whole body was about to collapse. He sighed and said, "Phew, we're really lucky." Naruto looked at Hinata suspiciously and asked, "Hinata, is that person very powerful?" Sasuke's face was gloomy, and he said, "Very strong." Naruto and Sasuke knew Hinata very well. If he encountered someone weaker than their team, Hinata would definitely go for it without saying a word. Hinata's abnormal behavior after encountering Orochimaru was naturally noticed by the two, especially when Hinata pushed Naruto out with the excuse of literary duel. Hinata's intention to escape couldn't be more obvious. What ninjutsu does Naruto know? He only knows the shadow clone jutsu. Sasuke looked at Hinata and asked, "What do we do now?" Hinata's face was also dark. Including Kiba and Neji, as well as the other 3 teams of Shinobu ninjas, Hinata didn't have to worry about food for the next 7 months. Kiba's team wanted to treat Hinata to a meal for 3 months, and the other teams wanted to treat him to a meal for 1 month. But now, looking at the remaining scrolls in his hand, if he used them well, it would be more than a year's worth of food. This time he really suffered a big loss. In the future, he might not have such a good opportunity to rip off others. Hinata looked back at the gloomy forest of death. Is Orochimaru still waiting inside? Hinata shuddered. I absolutely don't want to fight with that disgusting guy, Orochimaru. It doesn't matter if I lose. The heavenly curse can make me stronger. What was terrible was that Orochimaru would suddenly stretch out his long tongue and tie you up, or summon a big snake and swallow you into his stomach. Let's go. Let's pass this exam first. Pushing open the door of the central tower, Hinata and the other 2 walked in side by side. There was no one in the empty room, and there was a book written by the 3 generations hanging on the wall. Hinata looked around and said, "It's probably for us to open the scrolls." Naruto and Sasuke took out the heaven and earth scrolls from more than a dozen scrolls and opened them at the same time. The scrolls seemed to be a type of summoning technique, and there was a big human character written in the middle. A burst of smoke came out. Sasuke shouted, "Naruto, throw away the scrolls." The 2 of them threw out the scrolls at the same time, and a lot of smoke gushed out from the scrolls. Iruka stood in the smoke and looked at Naruto with a gratified expression, and said lightly, "Hey, long time no see." Naruto opened his mouth and showed an exaggerated smile and shouted, "Iruka-sensei, how can you appear in this way?" Iruka smiled and said, "We Chunin were originally here to welcome the candidates of the 2nd round. Congratulations, you have passed the 2nd round of the exam. In order to celebrate." Iruka touched his nose and seemed to be a little shy, and said proudly, "After the exam is over, I will invite you to eat ramen to celebrate." Naruto suddenly threw himself on Iruka and shouted, "Hooray!" After playing for a while, Iruka pointed to the book on the wall and continued, "The order we received was to convey to you the insights of the Chunin written by Naruto-sama." Hinata stretched out his finger and scratched his little face, and asked, "Iruka-sensei, are you a shadow clone jutsu now?" Naruto looked at Iruka curiously. "Does Iruka also know shadow clone jutsu?" Iruka scratched his head and said, "Haha, yes. What's wrong?" Bang! After destroying Iruka's shadow clone, Hinata flicked her hair and said faintly, "Let's just celebrate. I don't want to listen to a long speech." Naruto and Sasuke nodded in agreement. Chapter 71. On the 5th day after the start of the second round of the Chunin exam, the exam ended. The 12 teams that passed the exam, a total of 36 people, all gathered in the hall of the tower. What awaited them was the qualifiers for the third exam. Hinata looked around a few times. In addition to the 12 rookies in the manga, Apothecary's Pocket's team, My Love's team, and Shinobu's team were all present. In addition, there were 3 other teams from Konoha that passed the second exam with the help of Hinata. After paying the price of a month's worth of meals, they were lucky enough to pass the second exam. As for the remaining 2 teams, they were Shinobu's and Sand Hideout's teams. The 3 generations Naruto stood on the high platform with a group of jonins, and glanced at the 36 people below. He couldn't help but feel a little helpless. He has already heard about Hinata's brilliant results in this exam. In the first exam, due to Hinata's interference, Ibiki's psychological torture didn't work at all. A total of 108 people from 36 teams passed the first exam. Originally, this was fine. In the second exam, Hinata grabbed a large number of scrolls with his excellent strength and helped 3 teams of Shinobu pass the exam. The direct result was that too many people participated in the third exam. This time, the Chunin exam wasn't held by Shinobu himself, but jointly held by many ninja villages. The purpose was to show off their strength in front of the daimyo, nobles, officials, and rich people. The stronger a ninja village is, the more tasks they can receive. The audience is very busy, and time is very tight, so it is necessary to reduce the time of the third exam as much as possible. Sandaime-sama did some mental calculations. It seemed that they would only be able to fight 2 rounds in the qualifiers. The 3 generations Naruto said loudly, "I wish you all the best for passing the second exam." Clap, clap, clap. In the quiet hall, there was a burst of crisp applause. Hinata, who was standing below the stage, clapped his hands and shouted, "Thank you, Naruto-sama." The 3 generations would be in power for at least a month. Especially at this time, it was even more important to not offend the 3 generations. Flattery had to be done properly. In an instant, countless gazes focused on Hinata. The people from Shinobu were speechless. My Love's gaze was so fierce that she wanted to kill Hinata. On the other hand, the teachers from Apothecary's Pocket and Shinobu had playful gazes. Seeing that the crowd was in chaos, Anko shouted, "Now please listen carefully to Lord Naruto's explanation of the third test." Hinata's sharp eyes instantly looked at Anko. This was a formidable opponent. No, I can't let all the horses of the Hokage be swayed by Anko alone. Clap, clap, clap. Hinata clapped his hands as hard as he could. His expression was serious as if he was waiting for a review. For the first time in 12 years he said seriously, "Lord Naruto, we will listen carefully to Naruto-sama's teachings and work tirelessly to fulfill our duties. We will strictly follow Lord Naruto's instructions and work hard for the future of Shinobu." Everything for Shinobu. Anko's mouth twitched. She suddenly felt that this was very interesting. At this time she also said seriously, "Next, let's welcome the strongest Naruto in history, the great Shinobu's 3 generations Naruto-sama, to give a speech. Everyone, let's give a round of applause. Lord Naruto-sama, please." After saying that, Anko respectfully retreated behind the sandaime. She straightened her back and stood there without the slightest hair out of place. Clap, clap, clap. There was a sparse applause from the audience. Except for Hinata's applause, the rest of the audience didn't even move. The 3 generations. At this moment, the 3 generations felt very embarrassed. What the hell are these people doing? Orochimaru, who was disguised as Shinobu's teacher, looked at the 3 generations with amusement. Orochimaru thought that he was the only one who was insulted by Hinata. He didn't expect Hinata to be like this. Looking at the 3 generations standing awkwardly at the front of the stage, Orochimaru felt a lot better. Kakashi looked up at the sky. It's over. When the qualifier is over, he will be scolded by the 3 generations Naruto. Yes, the 3 generations nodded slightly. After being Naruto for so many years, they still have this kind of psychological quality. With a light cough, the 3 generations said, "I'm thinking about the next." At this moment, Hinata only had Anko in his eyes. This person is amazing. worthy of being Orochimaru's disciple. Although her words were a bit greasy, at this moment, Anko was undoubtedly the brightest among all the jonins. Clap clap clap. Hinata was dissatisfied and continued to applaud. Good. Naruto, Sama said it well. Naruto, Sama's words include 1,000 years of history and culture of the shinobi world. And it seems to cover all the high-end knowledge of ninjutsu. Just listening to it once is enough to leave a lasting aftertaste. Naruto, Sama's heart is open to the world, and his eyes see the universe. In just a short sentence, we have established the right values of life and determined the direction of our future struggle. As expected of the most respected Naruto, Sama of the 3 generations. Everyone. Orochimaru thinks that he is also a genius. Even the 3 generations have praised him, saying that he is a peerless genius that only appears once every few decades in the shinobi world. However, Orochimaru couldn't imagine how Hinata could understand so many things from the words I'm going to do next. The 3 generations. Naruto's forehead twitched. This Hinata is looking for trouble. You did it on purpose, didn't you? Hinata shook his head. I did it on purpose, but I was deliberately flattering you. You are Naruto, I don't like anyone else. The 3 generations looked at Hinata for a long time, and saw that Hinata's small face was serious, and his eyes were full of righteousness. He didn't have the slightest intention of looking for trouble. If Hinata wasn't so good at acting, then that would mean that Hinata's words just now were from the bottom of his heart. The awkward atmosphere was silent for a long time, until the 3 generations coughed softly and said in a clear voice, About my next. The 3 generations looked at Hinata, but Hinata still had a serious look on his face. The 3 generations continued. Before I explain the 3rd test, there is one thing I must make clear. No, there are 2 things. The first thing. The 3 generations looked at Hinata and said with a blank expression, During my speech, I hope everyone can keep quiet and not clap. Hinata smiled and put down his hands that were about to clap, and responded loudly, Yes, Naruto-sama. The 3 generations sighed slightly and continued. As for the second thing, it is why this test is held. Unconsciously, the 3 generations looked at Hinata again. Seeing that Hinata didn't have any intention to speak, the 3 generations continued. The allies are working together to hold this test, in order to deepen the friendly relationship between each other. Chapter 72. The 3 generations of Naruto talked a lot, revealing the cruel truth of the joint Chunin exam to the candidates. The epitome of the war between the allies. Hinata has been in the ninja world for 12 years, and he was born in a Hyuga family, so he has some understanding of the cruelty of the ninja world. The ninja village is the military force of a country. Between Naruto and the daimyo of the Land of Fire, one is in charge of the military war of a country, and the other is in charge of the politics of a country. But nominally, the daimyo has a higher status than Naruto. Logically speaking, since the ninja village is the military force of a country, the country should allocate a large amount of military expenses to the ninja village every year. And ninjas don't need to earn money through missions. But in fact, missions are the only source of income for ninjas during peacetime. The military expenses of the ninja village are not high, and they have to maintain the operation of the entire village. Ninjas can earn money from outside, but most of the ninjas carry out missions issued by the village itself. So whenever the number of missions for the village decreases, the ninjas will start a war. Winning the war not only proves the strength of the village, but also leads to bandits everywhere. Once the war stops, the nobles and rich will have to hire ninjas to protect them. The main reason for the low military expenses is that the ninja village wants to maintain a certain degree of independence. Although Shinobu and the Land of Fire are one, they are relatively independent. Even the daimyo of the Land of Fire can't interfere with the internal affairs of Shinobu. Even the election of Naruto is decided by Shinobu himself, and then nominally appointed by the daimyo of the Land of Fire. So Hinata concluded that the ninjas fight desperately for nothing more than money. No wonder Kakashi is so stingy. Please forgive my rudeness. Naruto, Sama, please leave the following matter to me, the referee of the qualifier. Hate Gecko. It seems that he was too lazy to listen to the three generations' nonsense. Hate Gecko suddenly jumped out and interrupted the speech of the three generations. The three generations was silent for a moment, and said lightly, "All right." Hinata took a step back, wanting to distance himself from Moonlight Blast. No wonder no one came to Gale's aid when he was killed in the original work. It turned out that he had offended Lord Naruto of the three generations. Take a look at Red Bean. She was also an examiner like Gale Moonlight. Based on the current progress of the plot, she was also considered a minor character. But he had lived until the second Legend of Bo. What about you? He didn't even pass the Chunin exam. As expected, anyone who interrupted the leader's speech would not have a good ending. Flattery was the only way out. Quick Moonlight Wind looked like a sickly ghost. He said weakly, "Hello everyone, my name is Quick Moonlight Wind. Before the third round, cough cough, the exam, everyone needs to go through this round of preliminaries. This will determine if you have the qualifications to participate in the third round of the exam." While speaking, Quick Moonlight Wind looked at Hinata curiously. "Why didn't you interrupt me?" Many people were dissatisfied with such rules. Quick Moonlight Wind explained. The first 2 rounds of the exam were too easy. Naruto-sama also said that there will be a lot of VIPs in the third round of the exam. Time is limited, so we can't delay. If you feel unwell, or if you don't want to take the exam after hearing my explanation, please raise your hand as soon as possible. If not, we will start the preliminaries. Unlike the original work, there were 2 rounds of preliminaries. In the end, only 8 people were left to enter the third round of the exam. I quit too. Hinata looked around. Maybe because there were too many people, there were a lot of people who didn't have a strong will, or they didn't think that they were strong enough. Apothecary's Pocket also noticed this and thought, if so many people quit together, I won't attract too much attention. Apothecary's Pocket raised his hand and said, I quit too. Naruto shouted unwillingly. Do-senpai, why are you doing this? Why? Apothecary's Pocket. Motherf asterisk cur. Apothecary's Pocket smiled awkwardly, but politely. I'm sorry, Naruto. I'm already covered in bruises. I can't keep you company any longer. On the stage, 3 generations and Anko had a private conversation about Apothecary's Pocket. In the end, only 32 people were left. Quick Moonlight Wind announced the rules of the exam, and the names of the 2 people in the first round were displayed on the big screen. Uchiha Sasuke versus Crimson Armor. Quick Moonlight Wind announced. Uchiha Sasuke and Crimson Armor, please come forward. Apart from the contestants, everyone else please go up. Hinata and Naruto followed Kakashi to the stands. Akai also brought his disciple over. Akai glanced at Kakashi and said proudly, Kakashi, your group is pretty lucky. But it won't be so smooth after this, because my disciple is here. Who told the next round to rely on strength? Youth. Sometimes it's bitter and sometimes it's strict. Kakashi looked at Akai blankly. Are you talking to me? Akai had tears in his eyes. Hinata looked at Akai curiously. Akai-sensei, are you Kakashi-sensei's lifelong rival? Oh. Akai made a pose and said proudly, I didn't expect that even Kakashi's disciple knows me. Hinata gave a thumbs up and nodded. Then she changed the topic and said, Of course. But, Akai-sensei, I think Kakashi-sensei has an advantage that you can't compare to. Hinata compared Kakashi and Akai. Akai just despised Kakashi, but Hinata couldn't stand it. Akai took out a small notebook and asked seriously, Excuse me, does Kakashi have any secret tricks that I don't know? Kakashi also looked at Hinata with some doubts. Hinata changed today. Would she also praise people? Hinata said seriously, Kakashi-sensei has Sharingan, so Kakashi-sensei's choice of disciple is better than yours. Kakashi-sensei, so she is still praising me in a roundabout way. Akai glanced at Kakashi's left eye under the mask and nodded in approval. The Sharingan is indeed very powerful. Sure enough, the latter part is the main point. In the stands, Hinata leaned on the railing and looked at the game below. There was no suspense in the battle below the field. Sasuke didn't have the interference of the Heavenly Curse Seal, and his Sharingan can be used at will. Although red copper armor's ninjutsu is a bit tricky, his taijutsu is not Sasuke's opponent at all. It didn't take long for red copper armor to be defeated. Hinata looked around and found that Shinobu's Jonin sensei was peeping at her. The two looked at each other, and the Jonin sensei nodded slightly. Hinata smirked and licked her lips with her tongue. Little snake, I've found you. Orochimaru. Although he can't beat Orochimaru for the time being, the feeling of openly flirting with Orochimaru is still very good. You are angry, but you can't do anything to me. Chapter 73. Orochimaru felt that he had been defeated. In some aspects, he felt that he was far from being Hinata's opponent. However, Orochimaru was also very curious about how Hinata discovered him. Orochimaru didn't use an ordinary transformation jutsu, but face removal jutsu. Face removal jutsu can take other people's appearance as one's own. Because it's a real person's face, there are no flaws, even Byakugan can't see through it. So Orochimaru was really curious about how Hinata discovered his flaw. And the encounter in the Forest of Death, did Hinata already discover his identity? Otherwise, how could Hinata, who has the strength of a Jonin, run so fast? How interesting. Orochimaru couldn't help but stick out his tongue in excitement, but this time it wasn't so long, only enough to lick his nose. Hinata copied Orochimaru and stuck out his tongue. Lulu, Orochimaru. Sasuke walked to the stands with a relaxed face. Hinata said with a smile. Congratulations, if you win one more game, you can enter the third round of the exam. Sasuke snorted. You and Naruto also have to work hard, I really want to fight against you. Whoa. You only won one game and you're already full of yourself? Then the second game continued. Due to the different number of people, the order of the battles was also different from the original work. However, these matches were not arranged at random. They were arranged after a certain amount of consideration. The weak, as well as some unimportant side characters, will be arranged to fight against strong opponents. After all, there will be many VIPs watching the third game, and Shinobu won't let these people go on stage and lose face for no reason. Of course, there are also accidents, like Shaoli, who has a hidden killer move and doesn't usually show it. It's easy to be ignored by the village's higher-ups. After a few games, it was finally Hinata's turn to go on stage. On the screen, new words appeared. Hinata versus side character, A. Hinata looked at 3 generations proudly. Sure enough, there are benefits to flattering. The first opponent is a weakling. Good arrangement, I'll give you a thumbs up. Hinata jumped over the railing and jumped off the stage. His footsteps were very light, almost without any sound. Just this move alone was enough to make people think highly of Hinata. But there were always people who didn't know their own strength. For example, the opposite side character, the opposite, jumped off the stage, looked at Hinata and mocked. What? Your opponent is actually a little. Hey, I advise you to quickly admit defeat and surrender. This kind of battle is not suitable for a cute little girl like you. Translator's note. Hinata's that's right. That's right's is cute. Ahem. Strong Moonlight coughed lightly and said. The 6th round, Hinata versus side character A start. As soon as he finished speaking, Hinata's hands gathered at his waist to form the chakra, and then he threw it out. 8 trigrams, mountain smash. Boom. Not to mention side character A in sand hideout, even the wall behind him had a big hole. The scene was a little bloody. So scary. Hinata pretended to be the same as he was in the original novel, his expression weak and shy. He even took 2 steps back and lowered his head, as if he was really frightened by the bloody scene in front of him. Hinata didn't forget the plan he had made during the first round of the exam. He had to be low-key and give people the impression that he was harmless. And Hinata's character in the original novel was just right for the current situation. Hinata was a little proud. Now no one thinks that I'm strong, no one thinks that I'm a threat. If you meet me in the next round, you have to go easy on me. Just like side character A in Sand Hideout, showing mercy to women was what a man should do. Wasn't there a saying that if you die under a peony, you'll be a romantic ghost? Side character A had personally said that Hinata was cute. He must be very romantic after death. Many people would be envious of him. Strong Moonlight announced. There's no need to confirm anymore. The winner is Hinata. Hinata glanced at the stage and wanted to jump up, but he suddenly remembered that he should pretend to be weak now. I can't jump up. Hinata walked up the stairs step by step, pretending to be tired after a big battle. Kakashi put away his porn book, glanced at Hinata and teased. Yo! Our cute Kashida is back. Hinata was furious. He glared at Kakashi and said loudly, Sensei Kakashi, just give up. A relationship between master and disciple is forbidden. Kakashi. F***ck. Kakashi swore that he would never say a word to Hinata in the future. In an instant, everyone's eyes were focused on Kakashi. There were all kinds of charms in his eyes. Tsk, especially Naruto of 3 generations. He looked at Kakashi with approval, as if he had found a kindred spirit. Naruto of 3 generations. My disciple Tsunade is also very cute. Kakashi, I can understand how you feel right now, but you must control yourself and not be impulsive. You won't be able to clear your name even if you jump into the Yellow River. Hinata noticed that my love's mood was a bit off. It seemed that the battle and the smell of blood had stimulated his nerves. My love felt something and looked up at Hinata, suppressing a ferocious expression. Hinata stuck out his little tongue. Lulu. Hinata found that he had fallen in love with this action, especially teasing those who were clearly very strong but couldn't make a move against him for various reasons. For example, Orochimaru, my love, and so on. He felt a sense of accomplishment. Orochimaru saw Hinata's battle and felt a bit excited. Shinobu was indeed the cradle of geniuses. This generation actually had a monster born. He just didn't know if the Byakugan also had some secrets. Just as he was about to stick out his tongue to celebrate, Orochimaru suddenly saw Hinata's action, and then retracted his tongue. Niji was a bit speechless, but as an older brother, he had to remind Hinata. Hinata-sama, your action just now was very rude. If Hayashi-sama saw it, he would scold you again. Hinata looked left and right, then beckoned Niji to come closer and whispered, Don't worry. After a while, father won't be able to beat me. Is this the main point? And, why are you comparing the strength of both sides? Are you going to beat up your own father? Niji's thoughts were all expressed on his face. Hinata showed a reproachful look and said with dissatisfaction, Niji-gage, what are you thinking? When I wasn't strong enough, it was father who accompanied me in training. When I'm strong enough, I can accompany father in training. I swore to be a filial and obedient girl. Niji signaled with his eyes. Hehe. What's the difference between this and beating up your own father? Hinata also responded with his eyes. There's no difference, but it sounds good. Chapter 74. Hinata felt that the current Niji was a bit boring. When Niji was a child, he would blush when he saw him, but now Niji was serious like a little adult. Humph. It's all because of the Hyuga family rules. When Niji grows up, he'll be like Hyogo and Hizashi. He'll keep a straight face all day long as if someone owes him money. Hinata set a small goal for himself. He must let Niji live until he grows up. The battle continued. The first round of the competition was basically to eliminate the weak guys. Most people were killed instantly, and the stronger ones couldn't last more than a few rounds. It was a bit boring. Didn't you see that Kakashi was completely immersed in the story of Intimate Paradise? However, Hinata's fun had never been in the arena. Hinata looked around and continued to look for targets to tease. In the end, it fell on 3 generations Naruto. 3 generations looked away awkwardly, not daring to look at Hinata. However, Hinata didn't dare to offend 3 generations. After all, he still had to be in power for a month. He had to be on duty for the last shift. The first round of the competition ended quickly. Half of the 32 people were eliminated, leaving only 16 people. My love's group advanced. Shinobu eliminated a female ninja. Among the 12 Shinobu roaches, only Sakura was eliminated. Hinata and Ino comforted Sakura. Sakura was now following Sunset in the path of Genjutsu. However, the combat power of a beginner in Genjutsu wasn't particularly high. Not to mention, Sakura's opponent was Sand Hideout's Hanbao. Gale said lightly. Next, the second round of the qualifiers will begin. Glancing at the screen on the wall, Hate Gecko said, Hyuga Hinata vs. Sack Stirrup. Hinata secretly gave 3 generations a thumbs up in his heart-forgiving face. Hinata was originally worried. If he was arranged to fight Niji, it wouldn't be good for his family to kill each other. Hinata was about to jump over the railing when Sack suddenly raised his hand and said, I admit defeat. Sack was still very self-aware. He had seen Hinata's fight just now. From that move, Hinata and he were probably the same kind of ninja. They both used chakra to attack the opponent. But the attack strength of the two was different. It was like firecrackers and grenades. In particular, don't look at Hinata's cute appearance. Her appearance is soft and weak, like a soft girl who is easy to bully. But in fact, Hinata was very cruel. The scene was bloody. Although Orochimaru will definitely abandon him if he gives up the game. He may still have a chance to survive if he is abandoned by Orochimaru, but if he fights against Hinata, it's simply a dead end. Hinata nodded with satisfaction. This was very obedient. It must be because I'm too cute that he couldn't bear to hit me. From the beginning of the exam, Hinata felt that his strength was very weak, but his appearance was very good. I rely on my face to make a living. I can make the opponent admit defeat. This is the true meaning of good looks. I, Otsutsuki Hinata, have the best appearance in the ninja world. Since Sack Stirrup has admitted defeat, the winner of the first match is Hyuga Hinata. Cough. Hate Gecko was not surprised, his face did not change, and said indifferently, then the second game. Uzumaki Naruto against Inuzuka Kiba. It's finally my turn. Naruto shouted and jumped downstairs, pointing to Inuzuka Kiba and shouted, Loser, come down. Yes, in the Forest of Death, Naruto beat Inuzuka Kiba. Inuzuka Kiba jumped down with Akamaru. His taijutsu was also very beautiful. Naruto, I was just careless before. If it wasn't because of Hinata's influence, do you think I can't beat you? Hinata, was it because of my appearance? Naruto sneered. Only the weak will find excuses for their failure. Kiba was a bit stunned. With Naruto's IQ, can he say such a cool thing? In fact, this game was doomed from the beginning. Kiba would never be able to beat Naruto. At this time, Naruto was much more powerful than he was in the original work, and he was not sealed by Orochimaru. So it was not particularly difficult to use ninjutsu. More importantly, Inuzuka Kiba was the kind of ninja who had very little chakra. Naruto inherited the huge vitality and chakra of the Uzumaki clan. And he also had the power of 9 tails. Even if Naruto stood still and let Kiba beat him, it was not necessarily who would be tired in the end. In fact, when it comes to the problem of chakra, Hinata recently made a new discovery. When he was young, Hinata's chakra was far more than his peers. At first, Hinata always thought that it was because of his talent that his chakra grew so fast. Before graduation, Hinata's chakra had surpassed Hyogo. But at that time Hinata didn't feel much. But recently Hinata found that his chakra grew faster and faster. Hinata had a suspicion. The opening of Tenseigan, in addition to the fusion of a lot of Byakugan, only pure Byakugan and Otsutsuki bloodline can be fused. It's like Uchiha Madara fused with Hashirama cells to open Rinnegan. And Hinata's eyes came from making a wish. According to this argument, Hinata should have the bloodline of the Otsutsuki clan in his body. And now it should be the stage of bloodline awakening. Hinata also thought of this before, so he dared to say that he could defeat Hyogo soon. Although he didn't know how long it would take for Tenseigan to open, the increase in chakra will undoubtedly make Hinata more suitable for protracted battles, and consume those who lack chakra. For example, Itachi Uchiha. Defeating Itachi Uchiha was a task given to Hinata by Hyogo when Hinata was 5 years old. Hinata agreed in a daze at that time. In the official data, Itachi Uchiha's essence, attribute is not as high as Kakashi's. While his thoughts were running wild, the outcome of the match had already been decided. Uzumaki Naruto defeated Inuzuka Kiba for the second time, and won the game. In this way, Hinata and Naruto of Team 7 can smoothly advance to the third exam. Sasuke was under a lot of pressure. Naruto ran up and said proudly to Sasuke, Sasuke, Hinata and I have successfully advanced. Don't lose face for our Team 7. I really want to fight with you. Sasuke snorted and turned his head, but the corner of his eyes stared at the screen hanging on the wall. After seeing the strength of my love, Sasuke knew that in this game, there are a few monsters that he can't defeat now. Moreover, Hinata's brother from the same clan is also very interesting. The names on the screen flashed back and forth and finally stopped. Hyuga Neji vs Aburame Shino. Hinata walked to Neji and whispered, Neji, you have to be careful. Neji didn't care at first, but when he heard Hinata's words, his heart became heavy. Is this guy named Aburame Shino very strong? Chapter 75. Shino's reputation as an invincible ninja wasn't just for show. In terms of strength, Shino at this time was still far behind Neji. Although Shino's secret technique was strange and tricky, Neji's supercilious eyes weren't for nothing. Shino's ninjutsu and tactics were almost useless under Neji's supercilious eyes. But even in such a disadvantage, Shino still fought with Neji for nearly 5 minutes before he was defeated. Although 5 minutes is very short, in a ninja battle, especially a battle between genin, 5 minutes is really long. Many people felt sorry for Shino. If Shino could smoothly advance to the 3rd round of the exam, becoming a chunin was almost a sure thing. But he still lacked a bit of luck. Although Shino successfully advanced, he didn't have the opportunity to play. Neji's long hair was still fluttering, elegant and indifferent. He looked calm, but more than half of his chakra was consumed. At this point, Sunset's team was completely wiped out. The game continued. Ino against Hanbao, Shikamaru against Tian, Sasuke against Kankuro. Counting the previous 3 games, only Choji, Xiaoli my love, and Toas haven't played yet. Hinata, Naruto, Neji, Hanbao, and Shikamaru have all successfully advanced to the 3rd round of the exam. Sasuke and Kankuro haven't decided the winner yet, but at this time, Choji was already crazy. Among the remaining 4, except for Choji, no one was a pushover. In the last round, the candidates had a rough judgment of each other's strength. My love, Xiaoli, and Toas weren't easy to deal with. The most important thing is that Choji was hungry. Shikamaru, this bad friend, put his arm around Choji's shoulder and said with a smirk, Choji, this time you are miserable. Asuma also lamented. That's right. The rest are all experts. What should we do? Dingji's forehead was sweating as he said without confidence. It doesn't matter. I will immediately give up the competition. Asuma said with a wretched expression. If that's the case, then the barbecue after the exam is cancelled as well. Shikamaru complained. Asuma, don't tempt him with food. That guy from Sand Hideout Village has a scary look in his eyes. He's obviously not normal. Other than Hinata, he's the most dangerous one. In the 1st round of the competition, Hinata and my love were the most ruthless. One of them separated his opponent's body from his body, while the other crushed his opponent into minced meat. But Dingji's eyes lit up when he heard that and roared. That's right. I still have boss. Ino was a little puzzled. Boss. Seeing Dingji rushing to his side, Hinata asked in surprise. Dingji, what's the matter? Dingji stared at Hinata and said aggressively. Boss, you said before that you recognized me as your little brother. Do you still remember? Hinata seriously recalled that when they were in school, in order to cheat Dingji to eat potato chips, he did recognize him as his little brother. Hinata nodded and said, Of course I remember. As a boss, I must be loyal. Dingji said with a depressed face. Boss, in the remaining 4 people, other than me, all of them are very strong. What do you think I should do? Hinata said in surprise. I didn't expect you to be so self-aware. Dingji was even more depressed when he heard that. Hinata patted the little fatty and comforted him. If you can't beat them, just admit defeat. Dingji said dejectedly, but if I admit defeat, Asuma, Sensei won't treat me to barbecue. Boss, you can eat as much as you want. Hinata's eyes lit up. Speaking of which, the preliminaries have been going on for so long, he was indeed a little hungry. Can you count me in? Hearing that, Dingji happily said, Boss, so you are willing to help me? Hinata lamented in his heart. The world is really degenerating day by day. People's hearts are not what they used to be. Even a simple and kind good silly Childlike Dingji now knows how to talk about conditions. Listening to Dingji calling him boss with a look of being in a dilemma, Hinata also didn't feel good in his heart. After all, he is his little brother. It is time to pay for the potato chips that he cheated from the little fatty in school. Thinking of this, Hinata made a decision in his heart. Coughing lightly, Hinata looked around and shouted, "Shinobu, Shinobu, Shinobu, Shinobu-sensei also come over," treated as giving face to Hinata. The genin didn't dare to disobey, and the Jonin-sensei also curiously came over, wanting to see what kind of trick Hinata has to help Dingji pass the preliminaries. Cough cough. Hinata took out all the kunai and explosive charms from the ninja tool bag, and wrapped the explosive charms on the handle of the kunai. Hinata gestured to everyone and explained, "Everyone take out your kunai and explosive charms and make them like mine, and give Dingji 100 or so of them. Dingji, no matter who your opponent is, you go up and use the explosive charms on him. And when the explosive charms are used up, if the opponent is still alive, you immediately admit defeat." The surrounding people were stunned. "There is such a trick?" Hinata snorted. "A group of country bumpkins. Do you know how many explosive charms Sister Nan used in the battle with Uchiha-bordered soil? That is a total of 600 billion explosive charms. The most important thing is that Sister Nan said that she has practiced countless times before. Listen carefully, she has practiced countless times." Seeing that no one moved, Hinata was annoyed and said with dissatisfaction, "What are all of you standing there for? Everyone, gather some for Dingji. No matter what, we are all Shinobu's ninjas. In the future we will see each other very often, so just give me, Hinata, some face, and help my little brother this time." Shikamaru was the first to take out his ninja tool, and the group of genins contributed some, and he contributed some, and soon more than 100 explosive charms were gathered. Those veteran genins like to use explosive charms the most, not to mention the power, they don't need to use too much chakra. For the sake of Hinata's face, the genin almost all contributed their stock. Looking at so many explosive charms, Hinata couldn't help but feel a little proud. "It seems that my face is still useful. I have decided in this game called Naruto Ninja, I want to use my face to clear the game. I am indeed the most adorable." Hinata glanced at those Jonin-sensei and snorted. "What about you guys?" Asma laughed and said, "I am Dingji-sensei, so I will provide some for Dingji." After all, there is still Shaoli on Shinobu's side, and the genins can fool around, but the Jonins are too embarrassed to participate in this kind of thing. Asma is Shinobu's most powerful second-generation official, and he is still very rich, so he provided Dingji with more than 20 explosive charms. Hinata calculated, if all the explosive charms are tied to the kunai, they can make about 126 kunai bombs. Hinata patted Dingji and encouraged him. "Dingji, boss can only help you to this point. You still have to rely on yourself to walk the road in the future. Since we are not strong enough, then let the opponent see our wealth, and use money to smash him to death." Dingji was moved to tears and said, "Thank you boss, you are so good to me." With these kunai bombs, among the remaining 3, except for my love, Dingji can beat the other 2. Chapter 76. Below the stage, the battle between Sasuke and Kanjialang was very intense. Kanjialang was a puppet master, and the puppet master's attacks were well known for their stealth and strangeness. Coupled with the lethal poison, the slightest scratch from the hidden weapon could be fatal. Unfortunately, Sasuke had the name Uchiha, and his Sharingan was enough to see through the puppeteer's hidden weapon attacks. However, even if one's eyesight could see through the opponent, it did not mean that one's judgment and body reaction could keep up with the opponent's attack speed and frequency. Sasuke was still having a hard time. If you want to use the Sharingan to its fullest potential, you must see through the opponent's attack, quickly make the corresponding judgment, and react accordingly. If the reaction speed is too slow, what is the use of the Sharingan? Kakashi still owes Sasuke a Chidori. Without the lightning attribute chakra cells to activate, Sasuke's speed was very weak. Luckily, Kankuro only had one skill, Crow, that he could use. After Sasuke figured out his strategy, he closed in and KO'd Kankuro. It has to be said that the ninjutsu of the Sand Hideout Trio is very strong, but their taijutsu is simply unbearable. Gale checked Kanjialang's condition and announced, "The winner is Uchiha Sasuke." The screen flashed back and forth and soon, the two names stopped. My love versus Rock Lee. Awesome. Ding Ji was about to go crazy with joy as he raised his hands and shouted excitedly, "Ah!" Although Choji wanted to fight Xiaoli more, with more than 120 kunai bombs in hand, he was not afraid of Toth. Toth's face darkened. In Toth's opinion, as long as he wasn't up against my love, he would be able to win against the other two. But who would have thought that Hinata would actually help Ding Ji get so many explosive talismans? That was more than 120 explosive talismans. Toth couldn't imagine that after being blown up by more than 120 explosive talismans, he would still have a piece of good meat on his body. Toth cursed, "Damn Hinata Hinata." He glanced at his two teammates, and they shook their heads at the same time. Toth. Konoha's tycoons are too shameless. Toth calmed down and touched the armor on his right arm. It seems that he can only use sound waves to blow away the opponent's kunai. But he doesn't know if chakra can withstand it. The most exciting battle of the Chunin exam has come. Hinata looked at the two people in the field with great interest. Although she initially intended to end Gaara in the second exam, so that Lee could advance smoothly, she didn't expect that Gaara would be defeated in the second exam. But he didn't expect Orochimaru to intervene and save Gaara and the others. Thinking of this, he looked at Orochimaru's eyes. Orochimaru seemed to have sensed Seiji's gaze and looked at him with a playful smile. Hinata didn't avoid it. "Just wait for me to drink with you." Under the field, Hate Gecko said, "The 7th round. Begin." Xiao Li's speed was very fast, and he almost instantly arrived in front of my love. Shinobu Tornado. My love's expression was indifferent, and she didn't move at all. The sand in the gourd automatically overflowed and blocked Xiao Li's attack. Xiao Li tried several times, but no matter how he attacked, my love couldn't move even once. Sasuke opened his Sharingan and said with a dignified face, "We met Shinobu Sato in the Forest of Death before, and only sand that exceeds his speed can hit him." Hinata nodded in agreement. "That's right, that little gourd's taijutsu is very weak." Hinata and Sasuke didn't lower their voices, and it was obvious that they were helping Xiao Li. Hinata continued, "But that little gourd can cover his body with sand, so we have to break his sand armor first." My love looked up and glared at Hinata fiercely. "What other secrets do I have?" Hinata stuck out his small tongue. "Blah. Bite me." Sakura wondered. How can he attack with taijutsu alone? Why doesn't Xiao Li use ninjutsu? Akai looked at Xiao Li and said with some relief, "It's not that he doesn't use ninjutsu, but he doesn't know how to. Ninjas like Xiao Li who have chakra but can't use ninjutsu and genjutsu are called duds in Harry Potter's world. However, although the limitations of taijutsu are great, it doesn't mean that taijutsu ninjas can't become strong." After listening to Akai's introduction to Xiao Li, Hinata nodded with a dignified expression and said in agreement, "Akai-sensei is right. Even if you don't know ninjutsu and genjutsu, you can become an excellent ninja just by relying on taijutsu. Just like me." Kakashi glanced at Hinata. Although what he said was right, it sounded a little shameless no matter how he heard it. Kakashi called softly, "Hinata." Hinata turned to look at Kakashi and said, "Eh." Kakashi patted Hinata's shoulder and asked earnestly, "Have you always had a wrong understanding of yourself?" Hinata. On the other side, Akai gave Xiao Li a thumbs up and encouraged him. "Xiao Li, take it down." As the two bags of genjutsu fell to the ground like cannonballs, Xiao Li's speed was qualitatively improved. He was not much worse than Hinata's standard speed. Kiba Inuzuka walked to Hinata and asked curiously, "Hinata, how did you defeat my love? I saw that they seemed to be hung on a tree by you." Naruto was interested as soon as he heard this. He loudly bragged about the previous battle and bragged about his own role to an extremely high level. Everyone's discussion was very loud. Hanbao and Kankuro's faces were dark. That battle was definitely a disgrace to them. Especially Kankuro, looking at Hinata's cute smiling face, his teeth itched with hatred. 2 times he had already fallen into Hinata's hands twice. "And you're discussing tactics so loudly. Aren't you openly helping Xiaoli cheat? My love was also very annoyed by Naruto's noise. He was obviously being beaten up by Xiaoli, but his eyes were looking at Naruto from time to time. He still remembered how Naruto humiliated him. It was not one Naruto, but thousands of Naruto surrounded him in the middle. And then the battle outside the field continued. Ordinary punches and kicks obviously could not break my love's killing armor. Xiaoli could only use the outer lotus flower. He tied my love with bandages and spun from the sky, smashing a big hole in the ground. Hinata was secretly anxious. How could he help Xiaoli defeat my love? Hinata's speed was constant, so he could naturally fight for a long time. However, Xiaoli belonged to the explosive type. After the explosion, he would immediately be beaten back to his original state. However, in the face of my love, a ninja who specialized in defense, Xiaoli's explosive power was obviously not enough to break my love's defense. Hinata carefully pondered for a long time, but in the end he was somewhat helpless. Unless the strength of the core was stronger than my love, Xiaoli would find it difficult to defeat my love no matter what tactics he used. Chapter 77. Shinobu's Lotus Will Bloom Again. People with discerning eyes can see that Xiaoli, who doesn't know any ninjutsu or genjutsu, can't use any tactics against my love, who can control sand and has absolute defense. The only thing Xiaoli can rely on is his own hardcore strength. Hashiman Tanku is Xiaoli's only trump card. Kakashi opened his forehead protector, revealing his Sharingan, and whispered to Hinata, "Hinata, you have to watch the next battle carefully." Hinata. Why do I have to watch carefully? What exactly are you trying to express in a veiled manner? Hinata looked at Xiaoli and murmured, "Is it worth it? Is it worth it?" Kakashi didn't know how to answer Hinata's question. For many people, this is just a Chunin exam. Even if they can't pass this time, there will be a next time, and there will be countless next times. But for Xiaoli, winning this battle is his way of ninja. The opponents that Xiaoli wanted to fight had all passed the preliminaries and successfully entered the third round of the exam. Xiaoli doesn't want to be the only one to lose here. To be honest, Hinata actually admires Xiaoli and Akai very much. In this story full of bloodline theory, known as the Legend of Cosmetic Eyes, only they relied on their own efforts to reach the peak of strength. Even if their peak is just like fireworks, and then flashed away. But they still left the most profound impression on the world. Hinata suddenly didn't want to say anything more. He just wanted to quietly watch the next battle, and enjoy Xiaoli's first bloom, the most brilliant bloom. Third gate. Gate of life. Open. Under the field, Xiaoli's whole body was red, the blood vessels and blue veins on his face burst out, and his eyes were white. He was only relying on his own willpower to support himself. Ha 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 ha. Xiaoli roared in pain and opened the fourth gate of pain. Xiaoli instantly disappeared from where he stood. Just the aftermath of his running crushed the floor of the hall, and the people in the stands had to raise their hands to block the strong wind. However, in order to obtain this shocking power, Xiaoli had also paid an extremely heavy price. All the capillaries on the surface of Xiaoli's skin were ruptured, and his muscles were torn apart. His entire body was crimson red like a steamed lobster. For the first time, my love was moved by Xiaoli. However, before he could defend himself, his chin was kicked heavily, and his whole body was kicked into the sky like a cannonball. The sand that could defend itself could no longer keep up with Xiaoli's speed. Bang, bang, bang. My love was kicked around by Xiaoli like a rubber ball. The sand armor, which was known for its absolute defense, was shattered by Xiaoli's brutal punches and kicks. Hinata had already activated his supercilious eyes, and his expression was solemn. Even Hinata could only rely on the revolving heaven defense when facing the current Xiaoli. He could only parry, but not counterattack. The final blow. Xiaoli opened the fifth gate of the 8 inner hidden gates, the gate of limit. All the muscles in his body were strained again, and the intense pain caused Xiaoli's movements to become stiff for a moment. My love's movements could not be hidden from Hinata's supercilious eyes, but at this moment, no one could warn Xiaoli. Xiaoli's final blow was very strong, but in the end, there was still a mistake. Xiaoli, who had only opened the fifth gate, had amazing speed, but his attack power was still lacking. Even though my love's sand armor had been shattered, Xiao Li's 2 consecutive punches had not been able to seriously injure my love. The gourd turned into sand and caught my love, counteracting the force of my love's fall. Xiao Li landed on the ground, his face pale, and he could not even move. Hinata exclaimed, "Akai-sensei." Before Xiao Li admitted defeat, only his jonin, Akai, was qualified to admit defeat for him. This was a battle between Shinobu and Sand Hideout. Unless one side admitted defeat or the examiner intervened, no one could intervene. My love had obviously consumed a lot of energy. In a hurry, he had no time to control the sand to wrap Xiao Li's body. The sand wrapped around Xiao Li's left hand and left foot, and was immediately dispersed by a force. In the first round of the competition, my love had already shown his sand coffin unique skill. Without Hinata's reminder, Akai had already been prepared. Huff, Hinata also let out a light breath and let go of his little heart that had been in his throat. Hinata still admired Xiao Li very much. In the second exam, Hinata did not want my love to pass because he did not want to see Xiao Li seriously injured. "I've been worried sick for you. Fortunately, you're fine now." Hinata was a little emotional, and murmured in an inaudible voice, "Life is the complaint of the weak, luck is the humble words of the strong. Xiao Li just lacks a little luck." Yes, Xiao Li had the power to change life. He was just a little unlucky. Hinata would not sympathize with Xiao Li's failure this time. As Xiao Li himself said, in front of a conscious man, any sympathy and pity is an insult to him. Looking at his friends around him, Hinata felt warm in his heart. Everyone was getting stronger little by little. Kakashi heard it. He was a little surprised but also a little relieved. My Hinata's brain circuit was finally normal. Thinking of the past, Kakashi was a little tired. "It's too hard for me." It seems that letting Hinata seriously watch Xiao Li's fight was still useful. Kakashi reached out and put his hand on Hinata's shoulder, and was about to say something to encourage Hinata. Hinata glanced at Kakashi and sneered. "Don't always touch me, I'm going to shout." It was finally Choji's turn to fight. "Choji, do your best. You're the best." Hinata acted as the cheerleader, and also pulled Ino, Sakura, and Tion, and shouted to cheer for his little brother. At the same time, he also vented the depression from the last match. Seeing Xiao Li working so hard and betting his life, but in the end he still lost on the stage, no one would be in a good mood. Hinata was still very happy. Being depressed was not suitable for Hinata. Some people said that behind every smiling face, there was an unknown bitterness. But Hinata did not want to be this kind of person. It was not easy to be reborn, and Hinata only wanted to live a happy life. To prove oneself was to live for others to see. However, true happiness belonged only to oneself. Choji and Toshi's fight was very joyful. Toshi wanted to get close several times, but Choji always ran far away and kept throwing kunai bombs at Toshi. Boom boom boom. The sound of explosions was incessant. Toshi was rolling on the ground, looking very miserable. Although the protective equipment in his hand was also a sound wave weapon, it belonged to the infrasonic wave category, and could not block a long-range weapon like the kunai bombs. "Choji, do your best. Choji, you're the best. Choji, you're the best." Choji had never felt that he was as handsome as he was now. A group of soft and cute girls were cheering for him. And his aura did not lose to Sasuke at all. Unconsciously, Choji made a pose. "Look at my ultimate move." Chapter 78. The qualifiers were officially over. Hinata, Naruto, Neji, Hanbao, Shikamaru, Sasuke, my love, and Choji passed the test. Hinata was very satisfied. Naruto and Sasuke were teammates, Neji was his follower, and Choji and Shikamaru were his little brothers. I, Otsutsuki Hinata, have a huge influence. Hate Gecko looked at the 8 people in front of him and said faintly, "Congratulations to all of you for successfully passing the qualifiers and advancing to the 3rd round of the Chunin exam." The 3 generations Naruto slowly walked to Hate Gecko's side. Hate Gecko was a little puzzled and said with a difficult expression, Naruto, Sama, you want to?" The 3 generations ignored Hate Gecko and looked at the 8 people who passed the exam and said with a smile, Now let me explain the content of the official competition. Hee hee hee. Hinata curled his lips. This hate gecko really has no future. The three generations explained with a serious expression. As I said before, you will have an official competition in front of all the distinguished guests. You are representing your respective countries, and I hope you will be able to do your best. For this reason, the official competition will be held in a month. In a corner of Shinobu, Orochimaru and Apothecary's Pocket met again. Speaking of which, it's really quiet here. No. This country is too peaceful, too calm, and other countries are actively involved in the arms race. Apothecary's Pocket glanced at Orochimaru and said faintly, "Isn't this just giving us an opportunity?" "Yes," Orochimaru said. "I don't know if it will be fun to cut off that old guy's head." Apothecary's Pocket said faintly, "In my opinion, you don't seem to have made up your mind." Orochimaru remained silent. Apothecary's Pocket couldn't tell what Orochimaru was thinking. During this period, Apothecary's Pocket was still a spy for various forces. Orochimaru did not trust him enough, and Apothecary's Pocket was not wholeheartedly loyal to Orochimaru. Apothecary's Pocket looked at Orochimaru and said playfully, "It seems that you still don't trust me." Orochimaru teased, "As my future right-hand man, you don't need to worry about these trivial matters. This also shows that I trust you. So, I'll leave Sasuke to you. Even though there was an accident earlier, and even though that's nothing much, it's best if you can use this opportunity to trigger the darkness in his heart. Bring him here immediately." Although he didn't have much contact with Sasuke, Orochimaru knew Sasuke very well. Sasuke was determined to take revenge on Itachi Uchiha. But this Chunin exam will undoubtedly bring a huge blow to Sasuke. Of the few people who passed the qualifiers, how many of them does Sasuke have the confidence to defeat? In the Forest of Death, didn't Shino Aburame, who tied with Sasuke, also lose to Hyuga? Menli was so powerful that it made one's hair stand on end. But he still fell at Gaara's feet? Even for those who didn't pass the qualifiers, Sasuke may not be their opponent, let alone in the upcoming Chunin exam. Apothecary's Pocket said vaguely, "You're a bit abnormal, are you anxious?" Orochimaru said lightly, "Because there was an accident," Apothecary's Pocket probed. "Are you referring to Hinata? It seems that Orochimaru-sama is finally interested in her." Orochimaru's hoarse voice was emotionless, and his tone was flat. "From the information you collected, since Sasuke, Uzumaki Naruto, and Hinata formed a team, his thoughts and heart have changed. In that case, it's better to separate them as soon as possible." Orochimaru has also experienced these things, so naturally, he can understand Sasuke's mentality. Jiraiya and Tsunade also have Orochimaru's past. Orochimaru licked his lips and said, "In order to let Sasuke accept my influence as soon as possible." Without Hinata, Orochimaru felt a lot happier sticking out his tongue. "Yes." Apothecary's Pocket turned around and left, but suddenly felt the hair on his back stand up, as if he was being stared at by an incomparably terrifying existence. "Pocket, if you want to stop me, you have to kill Sasuke now. With your strength you can't kill me." Speaking of this, Orochimaru suddenly smiled and said, "Go. I believe in you." Orochimaru's expression was a little playful, and he used Hinata several times to test how strong Orochimaru's attachment to Sasuke was. Obviously, he noticed something. Although Hinata's current performance is better than Sasuke's, in Orochimaru's view, Hinata's upper limit has long been set. Even if Hinata can break the upper limit of the Hyuga clan's history, it won't arouse much interest from Orochimaru. And compared to Sasuke, who is very easy to fool, Hinata has obviously grown up, and his heart is very black. Orochimaru felt that he couldn't handle it. And the most important thing is that the Byakugan in history is just a Byakugan, but the Sharingan is different. In the hall of the central tower, Sandaime rambled on for a long time before finally saying, "Even though I really want everyone to disband, there is still something important that needs to be done before the official competition." Naruto was already dissatisfied and shouted, "How much more do you want to do?" "Don't worry." Sandaime turned around and said, "Red Bean." Anko came over with the lottery box with a smile on her face and didn't say a word. 3 generations explained. Each of you take a piece of paper from Anko's box. Anko walked to Hinata with a smile and invited. Little sister, you are very interesting. Are you interested in coming out for a drink after the game? I'm not an adult yet, Hinata said, suddenly opened the Byakugan, and then pulled out a 1 from it. Anko was a little funny, and said before anyone else could speak, Little sister, it's useless to cheat in the lottery. When everyone is done drawing, the order of the game will be announced. Hinata looked up at Anko with a silly smile on her face. Anko is a good person, and when she said this, no one else could say anything. After the lottery was over, the order of the game was decided. Hinata against Naruto, Shikamaru against Hanbao, Sasuke against my love, Niji against Choji. Fight Naruto. Hinata turned to look at Naruto. Naruto's face was blue, and his hand was tightly holding the 2 pieces of paper. He was sweating and kept talking to himself. I'm going to die. I will definitely be killed by Hinata. Hinata patted Naruto, and Naruto looked over. Hinata smiled. Naruto, don't worry. I promise I won't kill you. Naruto wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and smiled awkwardly. Is that so? Hinata, I won't lose to you. I will definitely defeat you. Is that so? Hinata smiled gently, and his tone was emotionless. We have to work hard together. Sasuke crushed the 6th piece of paper in his hand. Although he was expressionless, the unwillingness and resentment in his heart could not be suppressed. Chapter 79. At this time, Asuma walked over and said to Class 10's Shikamaru, Choji and Ino, since the exam is over, let's go to the barbecue shop to celebrate. Teacher means what he says. I'll let you eat barbecue until you're full. Hinata stood at the side. When he heard Asuma's words, he immediately shouted excitedly, Great! Long live Teacher Asuma. I'm starving. Asuma turned his head stiffly. Kakashi put down the intimate paradise in his hand and turned his head. I think I heard something amazing. Kakashi walked over and said with a laugh, It's rare for Asuma to be so generous. They seem to be classmates in the same year. In that case, let's go together. Kakashi turned his head and said, Akai Red. The 2 of you can come as well. And bring your subordinates along. Akai gave a thumbs up and said, No problem. Red nodded slightly and didn't say anything. Kakashi raised his eyebrows at Asuma and gestured to Sunset. He had a look that said, I've done my best to help you. You've taken advantage of me. Asuma looked at the sky speechlessly. Kakashi and Hinata were both black-hearted. Hinata only wanted to go alone, but Kakashi called a large group of people. And Asuma even boasted. Sasuke looked at Kakashi and said coldly, I still have something to do. I won't go. Kakashi's expression changed slightly. He had already sensed some of Sasuke's worries. This time, he shamelessly took advantage of Asuma because he wanted Sasuke to integrate with everyone. However, Sasuke was so autistic now. It wasn't good to forcefully bring him over. Instead, it would affect the other's mood. Kakashi thought to himself, how troublesome. Kakashi could actually understand some of Sasuke's thoughts. When Lin and the bordered soil died, he also had the desire to destroy everything. It was the will of the bordered soil that had supported Kakashi until now. It was very difficult for others to help in this kind of matter, unless they thought it through and were willing to step out. Sasuke looked cold, but in reality, he was easily influenced by the outside world. Bearing the name of Uchiha, he cared too much about what others thought of him. Moreover, Sasuke hadn't experienced many things yet. He was like a blank piece of paper. When his heart fell into darkness, it was easy to be seduced by the darkness. Because Sasuke's heart was willing to believe in those dark things. Kakashi shook his head inwardly. Sasuke's matter could not be rushed. It was better to guide him slowly. 11 cockroaches, plus their respective Jonin mentors. A group of 15 people majestically rushed to the barbecue shop. Asuma was very rich. He booked 2 private rooms, one for the Jonin and the other for the Genin. Hinata didn't persuade Sasuke, because in Hinata's view, Sasuke would rather follow Orochimaru than continue to stay in Shinobu. When the 3 generations die, Tsunade will succeed to the position of Naruto, and Senju and Uchiha will be enemies for generations. She may not care about Sasuke. Once Danzo covets Sasuke, Tsunade won't be able to protect Sasuke at all. Any random mission accident, Sasuke may fall into the hands of Danzo. Orochimaru loves Sasuke. He will do his best to teach Sasuke. Sasuke can also quickly become stronger if he follows Orochimaru. Hinata has always ignored these annoying things. Let nature take its course. If it doesn't work, he will give up. He will eat, drink, and if he has time, he will take a mission to earn some money. This is Hinata's life. After all, Hinata still has a Hyuga family behind him. However, Hinata can also understand Sasuke. After all, he still has revenge for his family. In the private room, Hinata and Choji quickly rushed to eat the barbecue. The other 9 people used a barbecue grill, but Hinata and Choji shared one. The 9 of them had only finished 12 plates. On the other hand, Hinata and Choji's side had already emptied 26 plates. Hinata stared at Choji and said vaguely, "Choji, as a follower, how can I fight with the boss?" "Go away." Choji has always been very smart when it comes to eating. If the boss doesn't give his follower a bite of meat, how can he show his loyalty? Hinata asked seriously, "Loyalty or meat is more valuable?" Choji didn't even think and blurted out, "Of course meat is more valuable." Hinata glanced at Choji and said in his heart, "Forget it, let's not fight when eating." "Phew. I'm so full." Hinata touched his flat stomach and felt satisfied. Choji's stomach was bulging and he was a little full. At this moment, his eyes were glowing as he stared at the last piece of barbecue on the grill. Choji had never had the habit of giving up the last piece of barbecue. It was his. Hinata also wanted to eat it. Choji stared at Hinata fiercely and refused to give up. Hinata sneered, opened the door, and said, "Boss, give me another plate of barbecue." Bang. Hinata placed the plate of streaky pork in front of Choji. Her eyes curved as she smiled gently. "Choji, actually, there is no need for us to fight over the last piece of barbecue. There is another plate here, let's eat slowly. Anyway, I must eat the last piece. If you don't give it to me, I will continue to order. Let's see who will be the last one to eat." Hinata glanced at Choji. "Little fatty, do you think I can't teach you a lesson?" "Choji." Shikamaru laughed loudly until his stomach was cramping. He panted and said, "Since young, only Hinata can subdue Choji in terms of food." Ino said happily, "Didn't you see that Choji has acknowledged him as his boss?" Inazuka teased, "Choji, do you want us to help you?" Choji knelt on the ground with tears streaming down his face. "Dad, I have embarrassed the Akimichi family." Naruto walked over and pressed Choji's stomach. Choji vomited and almost vomited. Naruto looked at Hinata's flat stomach, as if he was looking at a monster. What is it made of? Is there an extra-dimensional space? Hinata used a pair of tongs to pick up a piece of streaky pork and placed it on the barbecue rack. After a while, the aroma of barbecue wafted out. Choji smelled the aroma of the barbecue. He had never been so afraid before. That aroma is like a poisonous gas. Hinata used a pair of scissors to cut the barbecue into 2 halves. One half for himself and the other half for Choji. "Here. Don't say that I don't take care of you as your boss. Half for you and half for me, no more no less." With that, Hinata dipped the barbecue sauce into the barbecue sauce and started eating happily. Choji picked up his chopsticks in despair and swallowed the barbecue as if he was eating poison. Unhurriedly, Hinata picked up another piece of barbecued meat with the tongs and began to roast it. "Choji." Hinata looked at Choji and lectured him. "Remember, your big brother will always be your big brother. My status is right here." Choji nodded with tears in his eyes. "I know. Do you know your mistake?" "I know. Who got the last piece of barbecue?" "It's yours, boss." "Good boy." Chapter 80. A simple meal had brought the 11 cockroaches closer to each other. Originally, because of the graduation class, several people gradually became estranged from each other, but now, they became familiar with each other again. The group of people was noisy until 9 o'clock in the evening before dispersing. The Jonins were also a little tipsy, and even Asma was drinking to strengthen his courage, so he kept going to Sunset Side. At the entrance of the barbecue shop, Naruto ran towards Kakashi, shouting, "Haha! Kakashi, sensei, that I have something to ask you." Kakashi rolled his dead fish eyes and said weakly, "Don't say it, I already guess what you want to say, and I have already found someone to accompany you in your training." Naruto was dissatisfied. "Why, I want to train with you." Kakashi's tone was a little serious. "I have some things to deal with, and I can't take care of you now." Hinata looked over there. In the original work, Kakashi didn't help Naruto during the Chunin exam, which is probably the only black mark on Kakashi's body. However, in the original work, at this time, Sasuke was already targeted by Orochimaru, and Kakashi can only follow Sasuke to protect him. If he takes Naruto with him, he's afraid that he will be a burden. "Kakashi-sensei, Naruto, I'll go home first, bye-bye." Kakashi smiled and waved. "Be careful on the road." "Niji Gich, let's go." After greeting Niji, Hinata waved his hand and said goodbye to his friends one by one. After the hustle and bustle, there was a silence. On the way home, Hinata was a little reluctant to leave the lively atmosphere just now. However, as everyone gradually grows up, everyone will have their own life, and each of them will have their own responsibilities to bear. This is probably called growing up. Hinata has experienced this feeling for the second time, but his heart was still a little blocked. It was as if he would have to face the entire world alone in the next moment. She turned around and saw that her friends had all gone their separate ways. Those who were on the way also went home together. Although the Chunin exam made everyone understand a little bit about the cruelty of the ninja world, in the end, everyone is a child who grew up in a peaceful era. How can they understand the ups and downs of the outside world? Everyone was protected too well. Until the third exam. After 3 generations have died in battle, everyone will finally understand some responsibility. Ningji glanced at Hinata and said coolly, Lord Hinata, who only knew how to cause trouble in the past, also started to be sentimental now. Hinata sighed and said, Brother Ningji, how good would it be if people never grew up? Ningji was puzzled. What's so good about being a child? Hinata shook his head slightly. Children looked forward to growing up, but how could adults not envy children? Perhaps only Hinata, who had been reborn, would be able to settle down and enjoy the happiness of childhood. It's just that. I'm afraid that happiness won't last for a few years. Seemingly aware of Hinata's thoughts, Ningji said firmly, Lord Hinata, I will protect you with my life. Hinata smiled at Ningji. This feeling was really good. I will also protect you, Brother Ningji. Back home, Hinata took a bath and returned to his room. Pushing the door open, Huahua slipped into Hinata's room again. At this moment, she was lying on the bed and sleeping soundly. The corner of the quilt only covered her small belly, and her small feet were still moving from time to time. Hinata stretched, quietly climbed into the bed, got under the quilt, and fell asleep with Huahua in his arms. Huahua, who was still asleep, seemed to feel something. She rubbed her big head against Hinata, and went into Hinata's arms. Sister. Even if his friends have their own lives, his family will always be with him. Hinata felt very satisfied. It's just that this night, how many people will be unable to sleep alone? Thinking of Naruto and Sasuke, they may have been lonely for too long, so they care so much about their companions and yearn for others' approval. The sadness of the Fourth Shinobi World War came from Uchiha, and Uchiha's sadness came from the emptiness of his heart. It is said that the eyes are the window to the soul, and Manjikyu Sharingan undoubtedly proves this point. Uchiha bordered soil saw Rin die at the hands of Kakashi. He wanted to escape from reality, so he awakened Kamui. Uchiha Shursui wanted to change the idea of the family coup, so he awakened Kotoamatsukami. As for Itachi Uchiha Tsukuyomi, who created the virtual world, and Amaterasu, who burned everything, seemed to prove that there were some contradictions in his heart. Sasuke's dojutsu proved that at the moment he opened his eyes, there was only the desire to destroy in his heart. It's not that Hinata didn't want to think about many things, but he didn't want to think about them. There were too many tears in this world, and Hinata only wanted the truest happiness and warmth. Early in the morning, before Hinata woke up, Hinata's mother, Hyuga Minako, pushed open the door of Hinata's room with a bang. Looking at Hinata's room, Hyuga Minako woke up Hinata and Hanabi on the bed, and said with a look of disgust, "Hinata, look at your room, it's almost a pig's nest. Don't you know how to clean it up yourself?" Hinata's eyes were hazy, and he rubbed his eyes and said, "Mom, have you ever seen a pig clean up his own room? Isn't it usually done by the breeder?" Hinata would rather admit that he was a pig than clean up his room. Hyuga Minako was very competent as a breeder. She also knew Hinata's character, so she would come over to help Hinata clean up every once in a while. "Get up quickly. The sun is almost shining on your butt. Your dad heard that you advanced to the 3rd round of the Chunin exam, and decided to train you personally." Hinata sighed weakly. "I know." Huahua, on the other hand, quickly put on her clothes and stood on the ground, looking radiant. Hinata dawdled on the bed for a long time. "My dear bed and quilt, in just one night, I have to leave you again." After putting on his clothes, Hinata kissed his bed goodbye. "See you tonight." After washing up and eating, Hinata came to the training room, where Hyogo had been waiting for a while. The Great Elder and Hinata Takuma were standing on the side. As soon as he saw Hinata, Hinata Takuma immediately took credit. "Hinata-sama, I have reported your performance in the 2nd round of the exam and the qualifiers to Hayashi-sama. There is only 1 month left until the 3rd round of the exam. Please do your best." Hyogo looked at Hinata and said lightly, "Your performance in the exam was very good. Although you were a bit mischievous, you showed no mercy to the enemy and forced Shinobu to admit defeat. You are indeed the pride of our Hyuga clan." The Great Elder also said with a gratified face, "I originally thought that Hinata's character was a bit weak, but in the 1st round of the qualifiers against Shinobu Sato, Hinata, your performance was very good." Hinata stood obediently and didn't say a word. Hyogo continued, "But in the 2nd round of the exam, I heard that you ran away in the face of the enemy?" Hinata glanced at Hinata Takuma. "Good. Your name should be read in reverse." Chapter 81. That. Hinata scratched his head and finally decided to tell the truth. "Father, have you seen this move before?" With that said, Hinata stuck out his small tongue and licked it. "Hyogo." Hinata's face was serious, but his tone was a little impatient. "I'm telling you, that person is really powerful. Just his murderous aura alone is several times stronger than Zabuza and Kakashi. If I didn't run away at that time, I would have been killed by him." Hyogo and Great Elder looked at each other, and then said to Hinata, "I probably know who the person you are talking about is. You did a good job." Great Elder also praised, "Keen insight and intuition of crisis. These are essential qualities to become an excellent ninja." Hinata's face was slightly red. "You praise me so much, I'm almost embarrassed." "Ahem." Great Elder coughed lightly and said lightly, "There is still a month before the 3rd exam. At that time, the distinguished guests of all countries will be present to watch. Hinata, you are the heir of our Hyuga main family. You must perform well and get 1st place in the Chunin exam." Hinata's face showed a hint of embarrassment and tentatively said, "But, with my current strength, even if I don't train, they are not my opponents. Training or something, I don't think it's better to forget about it." Hyogo's face was serious, and said seriously, "This time, you are absolutely not allowed to be lazy. Between me and Great Elder, one of us will watch your training. This is really going to kill him." Since this plan didn't work, Hinata came up with another one. "But I still want to create another unique technique in this month." Hayashi said, "With your talent, I believe you can succeed." Hinata was just about to show joy, but he heard Hyogo continue, "But creating a ninjutsu is not something that can be done overnight. You can slowly think about it after training." Hinata took a deep breath and said, Hyogo interrupted, "I know what you are thinking, but for this month, I will not show any mercy." Hinata asked tentatively, "Only this month?" Snap. 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 Hinata had no choice but to practice with Hyuga Hayashi. Hyogo knew the details of Hinata's strength, and he also used Gentle Fist with all his strength. Although Hinata was forced into a disadvantage, he didn't show the slightest sign of defeat. Hinata has mastered most of the techniques of the Hyuga main family. The rest, it doesn't matter whether he learned it or not. The training of Gentle Fist was a process of going from simple to complicated, and then from complicated to simple. When you reach the level of Hinata and Hyogo, in addition to those powerful unique skills, you can only continue to practice the most basic Gentle Fist, starting from the most essential chakra, in order to improve your strength. Hinata has guessed before that if the Byakugan of the Hyuga family wants to evolve, talent alone is not enough, it must be practiced day and night. Perhaps there are many Hyuga family ninjas in the past, after practicing to the level of Hyogo or Kage, they found that the progress of their strength was slow, or they simply couldn't improve, so they simply gave up practicing and only maintained their current strength. Therefore, for thousands of years, no one in the Hyuga family can make the Byakugan go further. For example, the training of Hinata and Hyogo is not only about the depth of the Gentle Fist, but also about the Byakugan. The faster the speed of the fight, the more effective the training of the Byakugan will be. The evolution of the Byakugan is not like the Sharingan, which has 1 tomo, 2 tomo, and 3 tomo levels. In the beginning, the Byakugan only needs to condense enough chakra to open the Byakugan. With the increase of strength, the Byakugan can see farther and clearer, and the consumption of chakra will also increase. But in the end, there is still an upper limit. After reaching the upper limit of the Byakugan, what needs to be done is to start from the essence of chakra. And this kind of change, for a Hyuga family ninja, what needs is constant practice of Gentle Fist. Hinata and Hyogo didn't use the unique skills of Gentle Fist, only the most basic of Gentle Fist. Seeing the growth of his daughter, Hyogo was very pleased. Time flies. Just a few years ago, Hinata didn't even reach Hyogo's waist. When he first trained Hinata, Hinata was less than 5 years old, and could barely reach Hyogo's thigh. In the blink of an eye, Hinata can already fight Hyogo without losing. After a while, Hyogo pushed back Hinata, and said lightly, "Well, rest for a while, and then continue to practice." Hinata secretly glanced at Hyogo, and seemed to have discovered something, and said excitedly, "It's okay, father, I'm not tired at all, let's continue to practice." After that, Hinata attacked again, and Hyogo had no choice but to block. It's rare for his daughter to take the initiative to train. Hyogo should be pleased. But if the purpose of his daughter's initiative to train is to beat up her father, Hyogo is helpless and tired. Hyogo is also very surprised Hinata's chakra is too large. More than a year ago, it was only a bit higher than him, but now it's several times higher than him. The Hyuga family's chakra is far more than ordinary ninjas, but Hinata's chakra is far more than the Hyuga family. What the hell is going on? Chakra is the foundation of a ninja, and a person with a high amount of chakra is not necessarily strong, but the amount of chakra of a strong person must be very high. Hyogo recalled the strange things about Hinata. In addition to his personality, Hinata's appetite is far more than others. Hyogo is a ninja from the same era as Minato, and naturally, he has seen Minato's wife, Uzumaki Kushina. Uzumaki is a long-lived ninja family, and they are proficient in sealing techniques. Their family's advantage is that they have a large amount of chakra. Hyogo carefully analyzed, chakra is a combination of spiritual energy and physical energy, and Uzumaki Kushina and Naruto's personalities. Could it be that people with strange personalities have a higher amount of chakra than normal people? It seems to make sense. And Hinata's appetite is so big, where did all the food go? Through eating to strengthen the body. Through abnormal brain circuits to strengthen the spiritual energy. Is this the real reason why Hinata has a large amount of chakra? Hyuga Hayashi thought to himself, should I give it a try? He imagined himself drawing on the rock of Naruto like Naruto, imagining himself eating and drinking like Hinata. Hyogo shuddered. I'd rather not become strong than become like them. Hinata aimed at the gap and hit Hyogo's abdomen. Seeing that Hyogo has no time to defend, Hinata retracted his chakra, and only used the strength of his arm to push Hyogo back. Alas! In the end, he is the father of this body, it's not good to hit his kidneys. Everything is for mom. Chapter 82. Hinata hasn't seen Naruto, Sasuke, and Kakashi for a long time. If there is no accident, Sasuke should be practicing Chidori with Kakashi, and Naruto also met the old pervert Jiraiya. A few days ago, Hinata, Sakura, and Ino went to Shinobu Hospital to visit the injured Shaoli. He recovered quite well. After all, he didn't have his hands and feet broken by my love like in the original work. If it's just muscle and tendons, Shinobu Hospital can still treat it. When they came back, Hinata also specifically reminded Sakura and Ino not to go to the hot springs for a month because of the appearance of perverted ghosts. Recently, Niji has also been practicing with his father, Hyuga Hizashi, and they can't even see him. Approaching the third round of the Chunin exam, everyone is seizing the time to make the final sprint. Those who pass the exam want to get better results, and those who didn't pass the exam don't want to fall behind others. Hinata sneaked out to play several times, but he didn't meet anyone to chat with. Instead, he ate meatballs with Enko's strange sister once, and their relationship became much closer. Hinata Takuma also invited a gambling master for Hinata. When he was free at night, Hinata also learned a lot. Although, if he gambles with Tsunade, the probability of winning is almost 100%. But after all, Hinata hasn't been exposed to this knowledge before, and he always has to understand the most basic rules and play. As the days passed, Hinata's new ninjutsu was also on the agenda. In the practice room, Hinata and Hyogo suddenly separated. Hinata looked a little embarrassed, and Hyogo was tired and panting. Although Hyogo can still suppress Hinata with his experience in Gentle Fist, his chakra is not as much as Hinata. After a long time, Hyogo can't keep fighting. Moreover, Hinata's recent progress is getting faster and faster. Originally, Hyogo could still hold back, but now fighting with Hinata, holding back is completely suicidal. Looking at the calm Hinata in front of him, Hyogo felt a little helpless, a little unwilling, and a little relieved. His daughter has practiced for less than 10 years, and she has surpassed his decades of hard work. Even if she is his own daughter, he still felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. Tsuke. Hinata looked at Hyogo, who was already tired, and felt a little proud. This is the difference between ordinary players and cheat players. Decades of hard work and cultivation was often not as effective as a cheat player using a cheat. Not to mention a cheat that had been bought with money. After a while, Hyogo stabilized his breath and said faintly, "It seems that you have also practiced to this point. The level that every Hyuga has to face." Hinata nodded slightly. She knew what Hyogo was referring to. Gentle Fist has limitations, and this is also the limitation of Taijutsu. Hyogo's strength has not improved for a long time. His daily practice now can only ensure that his state does not decline. The same is true for Hizashi. The strength of these two brothers is equal, but they stopped here. Hyogo introduced, although our Hyuga family's Gentle Fist is known as the strongest taijutsu school, combining defense, close attack, and long-range attack, it also has certain limitations. Hyogo and Namikaze Minato are ninjas of the same generation. He has experienced World War II and World War III, so he is very knowledgeable. Coupled with the information collected by the Hyuga family over the years, Hyogo has a clear understanding of the strong ninja in the ninja world. Every top ninja in the ninja world has one or several trump cards. These trump cards are called Forbidden Jutsu, or Super Ninjutsu in practicality, and power has reached S-class. Hyuga family's current strongest ninjutsu is Mountain Break. Although its power is also very strong, it is good against ordinary ninjas, but once it fights against those top ninjas, its lethality is still a bit weak. Of course, most ninjas are the assassin type with high attack and low defense, and ninjas who master defensive ninjutsu are very few. And this is also the reason why Hyuga family can be called the strongest. Because there are no monsters in the ninja world at this time. But Hyogo is very clear in his heart, like the Jinchuriki of each village, the Kage of each village, and those ninjas who have mastered powerful forbidden jutsu. These strong people are not people he can compete with. At most, he can stay undefeated for a certain period of time. The so-called strongest in the Hyuga family is only the strongest in the eyes of ordinary ninjas. Hyogo continued. All forbidden jutsu are either used to the extreme of the 5 elements ninjutsu, or involve the practice of yin-yang release. About this point, you should be very clear about it by now. Hyuga family specializes in taijutsu, and rarely practice ninjutsu. Although the progress is very fast in the early stage, it is very difficult to take another step forward when you reach our level. Your 20 Gods Air attack looks powerful, but in the end, it is only an auxiliary ninjutsu. Hyogo is right. 20 Gods Air attack needs to be combined with Mountain Break and Air Palm in order to exert its power, and its power is not strong. After all, Hinata's ninjutsu is not the original version of 80 Gods Air attack. Hinata also asked seriously, then our Hyuga clan's cultivation has reached this step, can we really stop here? Hyogo shook his head and explained. The Taijutsu school of ninjutsu can be roughly divided into 3 types: Gentle Fist, Steel Fist, and Taijutsu. In fact, at our level we are no longer limited to Taijutsu, but we have integrated ninjutsu into Taijutsu. Hinata nodded. In fact, Akai's Hashiman Tonku, Tsunade's monstrous strength fist, and Reikichi's Taijutsu are not simple Taijutsu, but ninjutsu that focuses on Taijutsu. Hyogo continued, and the power of our Hyuga family comes from Byakugan. Hyogo's next words were similar to Hinata's previous analysis. Byakugan and Gentle Fist complement each other. Byakugan can not only assist Gentle Fist in combat, but also change the nature of chakra. Byakugan can affect chakra, and practicing Gentle Fist can make Byakugan stronger. Hyogo looked at Hinata with a dignified expression and said, Hinata, your talent is very strong. Reaching this level at the age of 12, with the growth of your body, your strength will be improved very quickly. And me and Hizashi, after all, our talent is still a little bit worse. When Gentle Fist reaches its peak, it is also the time when the body begins to age. Hinata also said with a serious expression, So, I am the hope of the Hyuga family? I am really the most powerful. Hyogo ignored Hinata's narcissism and said with a serious expression, In our Hyuga main family, there is a secret that has been passed down from generation to generation. Except for the patriarch, no one knows about it. Hinata's interest was piqued and she asked, What's that secret? Hyogo took a deep breath and opened Byakugan to look around. Even if there were no hidden eyes and ears around, Hyogo still lowered his voice and said, It is the ultimate secret of the shinobi world, involving the secrets of the Sage of the Six Paths and the Bijou. It is also the ultimate secret of Byakugan. Chapter 83. Hyuga Hayashi mysteriously said that it was daytime, but Hinata finally realized that he didn't know as much as she did. When the Hyuga clan first passed down their inheritance, Otsutsuki Kagaya had already been sealed, and the Hyuga family knew very little. And with the passage of time and the war of the shinobi world, many things were lost in the end. But there was one thing that attracted Hinata's interest. It was an incomplete version of the Gentle Fist secret technique, or Gentle Fist forbidden technique. It's a unique skill that really involves the word forbidden technique. The strongest attack of the Hyuga family now, Mountain Breaker, evolved from this incomplete version of the forbidden technique. This is a secret that only the Hyuga clan leader is qualified to know. After listening to Hyogo's explanation, Hinata's face was a little dignified. There are too many missing parts. Some people once said that it was Namikaze Minato who perfected the Flying Thunder God Jutsu, and it was Orochimaru who perfected the Edo Tensei. But before that, these two forbidden techniques were incomplete. As for this secret technique, it was an incomplete version. In fact, there are some things that Hinata knows far more than Hyogo. For example, Senjutsu. Of the few powerhouses who have mastered Senjutsu, so far almost no one has shown the power of Senjutsu in public. There are still very few people who know about the existence of Senjutsu. At least Hyogo doesn't know about it. And this incomplete version of the secret technique involves the manipulation of natural energy. Hyogo believes that only the Hyuga clan ninja with a huge amount of chakra is qualified to perfect and learn this secret technique. Because there is a sentence passed down at the same time with this secret technique: resonance with your own chakra. Without knowing the natural energy, Hyogo can only think that using this secret technique requires a huge amount of chakra. But Hinata understood in an instant that this is natural energy. Therefore, this move could really be an incomplete version of the 80 Gods Void Strike. After saying goodbye to Hyogo, Hinata took a shower and returned to his room. Lying on the bed, Hinata pondered over how to perfect and practice the true version of the 80 Gods Air Strike. For a powerhouse like Otsutsuki Kagaya, who has mastered the yin-yang release and obtained natural energy by swallowing the fruit of the god tree, the 80 Gods air attack may be an ordinary attack to her. But for the current Hinata, it was difficult to understand. Hinata was no longer limited to this world's gentle fist and ninjutsu knowledge. Cultivating natural energy was actually a little similar to cultivating immortality. Hinata had read a lot of novels about cultivation in his previous life. Naturally, his imagination was far beyond the imagination of the people in this world. Although most of them were fabricated things, they could give Hinata some hints and help Hinata think more. If a ninja's normal cultivation is compared to the foundation establishment stage, then cultivating natural energy is undoubtedly the chi refining stage. It can also be said that it is refining essence into chi and refining chi into spirit. Then there is the golden core stage, the nascent soul stage. Hinata looked at the ceiling with empty eyes. The style is getting stranger and stranger. But if you use the cultivation knowledge of the immortal cultivation world to interpret ninja's cultivation, this comparison doesn't seem to be wrong. According to the cultivation method of the immortal cultivation world, the foundation establishment stage is actually to lay a solid foundation and cultivate inner breath. And the chi refining stage is to attract the spiritual energy of heaven and earth into the body. But in the ninja world, except for the 3 holy lands, the natural energy of the outside world is extremely thin, and ordinary ninjas can't perceive it at all. But thin doesn't mean that there is no natural energy. After Naruto became an immortal, he can also absorb natural energy from the outside world to enter the sage mode. So in the end, the first step of cultivating immortal cultivation is to perceive natural energy, and the second step is how to control it. Hinata felt that his head was a little big, but Hinata really has a hole in his brain. With the existence of Byakugan, he can see the meridians and acupoints in the body. And gentle fist is a kind of body technique that can control chakra to the finest degree. Hyuga family's revolving heaven can release chakra from all the acupoints in the body. But these are all used on the enemy. But if these are used in his own cultivation, what effect will there be? Hinata continued to think. Since Byakugan can see the meridians and acupoints in the body, revolving heaven can release chakra from all the acupoints in the body, cultivate gentle fist, and control the flow of every chakra in detail. Then, if he slowly releases chakra with the revolving heaven technique, can he perceive the natural energy in the natural world through chakra's perception? Then he can use his own chakra to guide this energy into the body, and then enter the chi refining stage? However, Jiraiya once said that the key to practicing senjutsu is to maintain a relative balance between the spiritual energy, physical energy, and natural energy in the body. But Namikaze Minato's example tells us that as long as the natural energy does not exceed the limits of spiritual energy and physical energy, senjutsu can also be used. Yes, although Namikaze Minato can't enter sage mode, he can use senjutsu. Hinata's requirements are not high, as long as he can use natural energy like Namikaze Minato. Although he can't enter the 3 holy lands to cultivate, if Hinata's imagination is true, even in the outside world, it is not impossible to practice senjutsu. In other words, it is simple to sense and use natural energy. Hinata suddenly got up from the bed. It is better to act than to think. No matter how big the imagination is, it is better to try it out personally. Hinata climbed out of bed and sat on the floor. Byakugan. Activating Byakugan, his meridians and acupoints can be clearly seen. Hinata has already learned revolving heaven. But revolving heaven is to release chakra through the acupoints of the whole body at a very fast speed and rotate. Hinata is now using the revolving heaven technique to slowly release chakra from the acupoints of the body. As long as chakra is not too far away from the body, it will be controlled by the body, but it is extremely difficult. While trying to control chakra, it is even more difficult to calm down and perceive natural energy. Hinata recalled the process of Naruto practicing senjutsu. There is a scene of Naruto sitting on the top of the mountain meditating and perceiving natural energy. The natural energy of Mount Myaboku is huge. Even if Naruto does not know revolving heaven, he can still perceive natural energy. The natural energy of the outside world is thin, but Hinata has the revolving heaven technique, which can release chakra through the acupoints of the whole body and perceive natural energy of the outside world. But the two have one thing in common, and that is meditation. Hinata usually likes to let his imagination run wild. Especially with such a big imagination just now, he is so excited that he can't calm down at all. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. Hinata can only force himself to calm down. Today's imagination is really amazing. Chapter 84. It's so hard. Hinata controlled the chakra to flow out of his body slowly, sensing everything around him. But after half a day, other than the chakra's exhaustion, Hinata could not even feel the shadow of natural energy. Could it be that I'm wearing too much? Or do I have to go to the wild to feel natural energy? Hinata quickly found the key point of the problem. The natural energy outside the 3 holy lands was very thin, and there were many people in the village. If they wanted to cultivate natural energy, they had to go to the wild places in nature. And they couldn't wear too many clothes. When Naruto was cultivating, he seemed to be bare-chested. Exposed outdoors? Hinata quickly shook his head to get rid of the shameful thoughts in his little head. I'm doing this for the sake of becoming stronger, not for the sake of excitement. Hinata quickly convinced himself, and sneaked away from the Hyuga family. He walked to the top of Naruto and looked around. Hey, isn't that teacher Iruka? Hinata looked into the distance and saw Iruka with a class of children on the top of Naruto, pointing to the Naruto behind him and saying something. It was probably a story in the style of the Naruto. After a while, the 3 generations also walked to the top of Naruto. Iruka was originally bragging, but when he saw the 3 generations, he scratched his head awkwardly and said with a silly smile, Lord Naruto, why are you here? The 3 generations' eyes were sad, but there was a kind smile on his face. I kind of want to see my face. As he said that, the 3 generations turned to look in the direction of the Naruto, but found that there was a little person sitting on top of his head. Iruka also turned to look and wondered, isn't that Hinata? What is she doing there? Hinata didn't realize that she was sitting on top of the head of the 3 generations Yen. Seeing the people on the top of Naruto looking over, Hinata enthusiastically waved his hand. Hinata shouted, hey, can you see me? The 3 generations. The 3 generations came up this time because he had received the news about Orochimaru, and he was a little sad. Today, except for the 2 Sannin like Orochimaru, no one in Shinobu can compete with Orochimaru. The 3 generations has made the final preparations, so he wanted to see his Yen before the war to recall the past and his time as the Naruto. At the same time, he also brainwashed the freshmen of Ninja Academy, but now seeing someone sitting on top of his head, the 3 generations didn't have any mood. Looking at the group of people below who were in class, and no one paid attention to him, Hinata felt a little bored. Cultivation is more important. Although Hinata is a little lazy, he just came up with a new idea, and the excitement hasn't passed yet. Coming to the river behind the mountain, Hinata squatted down and touched the water in the river. It was cold and comfortable. Let's cultivate here. Hinata reached out and was about to take off his shirt. Just a little bit, Hinata's movements suddenly stiffened. Something is wrong. Byakugan. Go to hell. Hinata was ashamed and angry, and he started with 4 twos and 2 kings. 20 God's Air Strike plus 8 trigrams Mountain Strike. 5 chakra rays shot straight out, and the roar was endless. In the smoke and dust of the explosion, there were faint screams of human beings. After a while, when the smoke and dust dissipated, an old man wearing a red shirt with white hair to his waist rolled out of the bushes. Little girl, are you trying to kill someone? Really, you don't know how to respect the elderly at all. Hinata could clearly see that the amount of chakra in this person's body was as vast as the ocean. Moreover, Hinata had attacked in anger. Facing his ultimate move, even Kakashi would have hit GG if he wasn't careful. But this perverted old man in front of him was only a little embarrassed. It was indeed Jiraiya, and Naruto was also within the range of Hinata's Byakugan. Hinata angrily rebuked. You were peeping just now, right? In his previous life, when he was reading Naruto comics, Hinata felt that Jiraiya was quite interesting. But when it was his turn to be peeped, Hinata had the urge to kill. Wait, this person in front of me is an expert. Hinata's heart moved. Since he had encountered this person, he definitely couldn't miss it. Jiraiya said righteously, "What do you mean by peeping? Don't make it sound so bad. I'm just collecting material for my novel." After saying that, Jiraiya even prepared to take out Intimate Paradise to prove his point. Hinata didn't care so much and roared, "Go to hell!" His hands quickly formed chakra fist and swung it towards Jiraiya. Just from the exchange of blows, Jiraiya's heart was quite shocked. What an amazing little girl. This strength is simply not something that someone of her age can have. Jiraiya didn't believe in the concept of geniuses and last place. When he was young, he was last place. But now, he was confident that his strength was not inferior to the so-called genius Orochimaru. But Jiraiya also has to admit that geniuses really do exist. On the road to the peak of ninja, geniuses will walk faster, and the last place will walk slower. But at the end, the strength of the two is indeed the same. Of course, this so-called end is only the end of ordinary ninja. Many people in the ninja world will stagnate after their strength reaches a certain level. That's because they don't have a higher level of cultivation method. And what Orochimaru wants to pursue is the way to reach a higher level. In the distance, Naruto heard the explosion and hurriedly ran over. "Ha! Hinata, lascivious immortal! Why are the two of you fighting?" Seeing Naruto coming over, Hinata also didn't continue to fight with Jiraiya. After the last blow, Hinata quickly retreated a distance. "Naruto, how do you know this old pervert?" Hinata said aggressively. "You will learn bad things if you stay with this old pervert." Naruto scratched his head awkwardly and said naively, "Don't say that. Although lascivious immortal is very lecherous, his strength is still very powerful." Seeing this, Hinata didn't say much. For Naruto, Jiraiya was no different from an old grandpa who helped him cheat. Naruto asked, "By the way, Hinata, what are you doing here?" Hinata curled his lips and snorted, "Cultivating." "Cultivating." Naruto seemed to have heard some shocking news and said in surprise, "Hinata, didn't you say that you can become strong while lying down? Why are you here to cultivate?" Hinata said mysteriously, "Is it because I found a new cultivation method?" "You found a new cultivation method?" Naruto came over and asked curiously, "Hinata, can you tell me what cultivation method it is?" Jiraiya was also very curious when he heard this. He was quite familiar with the gentle fist of the Hyuga family. When he first saw Hinata, he thought that Hinata wanted to take a bath in the river. He didn't expect Hinata to be here to cultivate. What kind of cultivation method was it that he had to take off his clothes before cultivating? Jiraiya was very curious. Maybe he could teach Tsunade in the future. Chapter 85. Since Jiraiya was watching from the side, Hinata naturally had to introduce his own cultivation method in detail. Let Jiraiya help to judge whether it was feasible. Jiraiya can be said to be the only strong person in the shinobi world who can open Sage Mode. With just a few words from him, Hinata may benefit a lot. In case Jiraiya thinks that he is very cute and accepts him as a disciple, that would be the best. Our Hyuga family's gentle fist can control the flow of chakra, and revolving heaven can release chakra through the whole body. You should know this, right? Naruto nodded again and again. He has teamed up with Hinata for so long. Of course he knows Hinata's moves. Hinata continued. Once when I was practicing revolving heaven, I found that there is a kind of energy in nature. Energy? Naruto was a bit confused. There is still energy in nature? Hinata glanced at Jiraiya, and then mysteriously whispered to Naruto. So I was thinking, if I can control the flow of chakra through the acupoints of the whole body, can I perceive this kind of energy and use it? Jiraiya's ears were about to stand up. When he heard Hinata say that he perceived natural energy, he was shocked. Sage Mode. As the only living sage in the shinobi world, Jiraiya knows the power of Sage Mode. And he also knows the difficulty of practicing Sage Mode. If you want to practice Sage Mode, you must first find a place with a huge amount of natural energy. But this is far from enough. When Jiraiya practiced Sage Mode, he used toad oil to introduce natural energy into his body, and combined it with his spiritual energy and physical energy to form the Sage Mode chakra. This step is about control. After control, perception. Try to use your own power to enter Sage Mode. But this little girl in front of him can perceive the existence of natural energy in the outside world? What kind of joke was this? Jiraiya couldn't believe what he was hearing, but he had no choice but to believe it. If Hinata had not sensed the natural energy, how could he have proposed such a cultivation method? Jiraiya carefully considered Hinata's cultivation method in his mind. Supercilious Eye, Gentle Fist, Revolving Heaven, and other moves were originally used against enemies. But if it was used for cultivation, if one could really sense the natural energy, they could indeed use this method to cultivate immortal mode. What a genius little girl. Moreover, with the amount of chakra she has now, she is indeed qualified to cultivate immortal techniques. Thinking of this, Jiraiya was about to say something, but he heard Hinata ask, "Naruto, you have been following the old pervert for so many days. What have you learned?" Upon hearing this, Naruto excitedly introduced, "This is the art of psychic communication. Hinata, watch carefully." As soon as he finished speaking, Naruto began to form seals and pressed one hand on the ground. Boom! A cloud of smoke dissipated, and a tadpole with hind legs appeared on the ground. Naruto was a little complacent and flaunted. "Hinata, did you see that? It has already grown hind legs. I will be able to summon a real toad very soon." Hinata curled her lips and said disdainfully, "Toads are very ugly." Jiraiya was unconvinced and said, "What does this little girl know? Although toads are not very good looking, they are very strong." Hinata sneered and said, "What's the use of being strong? Being handsome is a matter of life. No girl will like you like this." Jiraiya awkwardly froze on the spot. Hinata's words had ruthlessly pierced the depths of his fragile heart, and his whole body was shrouded in a layer of low pressure. All right. I am going to start cultivating. Naruto, go away." After saying this, Hinata sat cross-legged by the river. He did not dare to take off his clothes. After all, he was using his own chakra to sense things. Taking off his clothes should not be a big problem. Jiraiya looked at Hinata with a serious expression. He also wanted to see if Hinata could sense the natural energy in the outside world. Being in nature was indeed much better than being at home. Although there were two extremely annoying men standing beside him, as long as he did not think about them, Hinata could still feel peace in his heart. And the environment seemed to have changed a little. Chakra slowly flowed out from the acupoints all over his body. Hinata controlled the chakra to hover around his body, condensing and not dissipating. Occasionally, it would dissipate a little, trying to see if he could sense the natural energy in the outside world. Jiraiya's perception was very strong. In the natural world, there was naturally natural energy. The key was perception. Cultivating in Mount Myaboku was passive perception. But in the outside world, cultivating like Hinata was actively perceiving, using his chakra to sense the natural energy. Seeing that Hinata had been sitting cross-legged for a long time, Naruto was just about to speak when Jiraiya suddenly put his hand on Naruto's shoulder, stopping Naruto. Jiraiya shook his head slightly and pointed to the distance, hinting Naruto to get lost. Naruto puffed up his face and left in a huff, going to cultivate alone. Jiraiya did not move. His whole body was quiet, as if he did not exist. He did not know if Hinata's cultivation method could allow him to sense the natural energy, but he knew that once Hinata absorbed the natural energy into his body, it would be extremely dangerous. Jiraiya had already cultivated the immortal mode. He could disperse the natural energy in Hinata's body when Hinata was in danger. Time slowly passed. When Hinata really calmed down, a seemingly weak but extremely vast natural energy appeared in Hinata's mind. It was like oxygen in the air. It was very small in one place, but it was everywhere in the whole world. Hinata sensed it for a while and felt that he could stabilize his current state. Hinata began to try to absorb the natural energy into his body. Jiraiya was shocked. Hinata actually managed to sense the natural energy through his own method. Supercilious eyes for observation. Years of cultivating the gentle fist allowed Hinata to control the flow of every strand of chakra. The cultivation of revolving heaven allowed Hinata to control the acupoints all over his body. By using the chakra to sense, as long as one's mind was calm enough, one could indeed sense the insignificant natural energy in the natural world. Of course, this required extremely strong talent. The next important thing was to control it. Controlling the natural energy was the most dangerous part of cultivating immortal techniques. If one succeeded, they would be able to master a powerful immortal technique. If one failed, only death awaited. Jiraiya was ready. Once Hinata was in danger, he could immediately disperse the natural energy in Hinata's body. Jiraiya said in his heart, "Please don't absorb too much, please don't absorb too much." Hinata was not a fool. In his previous life, Hinata had seen the process of Naruto cultivating immortal techniques several times. Hinata carefully controlled the chakra in his body and lured the natural energy into his body. Good babies quickly come to sister. Sister will give you sweets to eat. Chapter 86. Hinata slowly got up, lowered his head, and looked at his hands in a daze. Jiraiya was also in a daze. He, who prided himself on being knowledgeable, could not understand what had happened to Hinata's body. The scene returned to a minute ago. The immortal technique chakra was a new type of chakra formed from the combination of spiritual energy, physical energy, and natural energy. In Hinata's classification of chakra, the immortal technique chakra was ranked second among all the energy levels, second only to the 6th Tao chakra. The reason was that ordinary chakra could hurt the immortal mode, but it could not hurt the 6th Tao mode. The way Hinata cultivated the immortal technique was very different from the way the 3 Holy Lands cultivated it. Hinata's chakra flowed out of his body's acupoints to sense the natural energy. When Hinata's chakra sensed the natural energy, the chakra that flowed out of Hinata's body naturally absorbed the natural energy and evolved into the immortal technique chakra. The main point: Hinata's chakra evolved into the immortal technique chakra outside his body before being absorbed into Hinata's body. Hinata knew that to cultivate the immortal technique, he had to maintain the balance of the 3 types of energy. Therefore, in the process of absorbing the natural energy into his body, Hinata had been working hard to maintain the balance of the 3 types of energy. Hinata could feel that the chakra in his body was incompatible with his chakra. If not for Hinata's efforts to maintain the balance, the 2 types of chakra would have already clashed. This was also the reason why Jiraiya was dumbfounded. Hinata's first time cultivating the immortal technique seemed to have some results. However, Hinata's face did not show any signs of immortal mode. It seemed like he had failed. After carefully sensing for a moment, Hinata suddenly threw an empty palm at a huge rock 5 meters away. Boom! The boulder instantly exploded, and in the process of flying backward, the boulder shattered into small pieces of stone. The power of ninjutsu has been significantly improved, but Hinata didn't feel the increase in all attributes like in Sage mode. Jiraiya's eyes flickered. Hinata's move indeed had the power of an immortal technique. However, although Hinata had just absorbed the natural energy, he did not enter Sage mode. Even without entering immortal mode, he could still use immortal techniques. This meant that Hinata's control over chakra was extremely shocking. Hinata first fused the immortal technique chakra outside his body. Then he absorbed the immortal technique chakra into his body and controlled it firmly. Then he struck out with his palm. After understanding Hinata's current situation, Jiraiya's bad habit of being a teacher came up. Jiraiya sized up Hinata. She really is a girl with a lot of potential. He had to restore his perfect image in the hearts of cute girls. Cough cough. Jiraiya coughed lightly. His whole body was emitting the aura of a Taoist master. His expression was serious as he said, "Young girl, it seems that your control over natural energy has reached the point where you can freely control it. This energy is called the immortal technique chakra by me. Once successfully cultivated, it can greatly improve the various abilities of the body." Hinata looked at Jiraiya with a serious expression and humbly asked, Senjutsu chakra. How do I practice Senjutsu chakra? Jiraiya's expression suddenly changed. He said in an extremely vulgar manner, Since this energy is called natural energy, then to control it, you must first be closer to nature. Actually, your initial idea was very good. When I was cultivating immortal techniques, I wasn't wearing anything. Go to hell. Hinata angrily attacked and sent Jiraiya flying with an empty palm. Jiraiya was sent flying and rolled a few times on the ground. He struggled to get up and patted the dust off his body. There were no signs of injury at all. Hinata. Jiraiya was actually so resistant to beatings. It was all Tsunade's fault. He had trained Jiraiya to be so strong with the monstrous strength fist. Where did Shinobu's bad habits start? It was the 3 generations. Indeed, if the upper beam was not straight, the lower beam would be crooked. Since the 3 generations, Naruto had inherited the perverted nature of peeping, reading pornography, and seduction techniques. Shinobu was hopeless. Although Jiraiya was beaten up, he was the kind of person who would die under a peony flower. Not only did he not seem to mind, he even continued to teach. Controlling natural energy is extremely dangerous, young girl. Although you can fuse chakra outside your body, once you absorb it into your body, it will cause an imbalance between the 3 types of energy. You should have already felt the danger of energy imbalance when you were cultivating. Hinata asked seriously, Senior, what should I do? Jiraiya said, there is no shortcut to cultivating immortal techniques. You can only experiment again and again. You can already fuse chakra outside your body. When your body is familiar with natural energy, you can try to absorb it directly into your body and fuse chakra inside your body. Hinata nodded. In fact, Hinata had the same idea at the beginning. Jiraiya continued. However, fusing chakra inside your body is an extremely dangerous process. If you are not careful, you may be assimilated by natural energy. At this point, Jiraiya suddenly became wretched. Therefore, when you are cultivating immortal techniques, it is best if you have a powerful senior who is proficient in immortal techniques by your side to guide you. Cough cough. Jiraiya coughed lightly, continuously hinting to Hinata that the powerful senior, who was proficient in immortal techniques, was far away on the horizon, but close at hand. Hinata was silent. Although cultivating immortal techniques was very important, in order to cultivate immortal techniques, did I have to sell my body? Especially when this person was already old and not handsome. Of course, even if Jiraiya was shockingly handsome, Hinata would definitely not be so shameless. If it was Tsunade, it would be fine. Hinata's heart suddenly moved. Since he had already sensed the existence of natural energy, the next step of cultivation was to constantly familiarize himself with this feeling, turning the perception of natural energy into an instinct of his body. Hinata was fusing chakra outside his body. Therefore, there was one move that could be used to great effect. 20 Gods Void Strike. Hinata clenched his fists, and an azure blue chakra fist appeared. Under the vision of Byakugan, the meridians and acupoints within chakra fist could be clearly seen. Hinata first stabilized the chakra within chakra fist, then absorbed the natural energy and fused it into chakra fist. Thus, the immortal technique chakra fist was born. Jiraiya could be said to have personally witnessed the entire process of Hinata cultivating immortal techniques. Hinata first sensed the existence of natural energy in the outside world, where it was thin. Then, using the heaven reversal technique and the fine control of chakra, he fused chakra outside his body and absorbed it into his body. Originally, this was not a big deal. After all, the 3 types of energy in his body were not balanced, and Hinata was still unable to enter immortal mode. Moreover, this method of Hinata's could not be used in actual combat. But what was up with this chakra fist? Jiraiya. Did I encounter a bug today? You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.